System. From Iron Man, the counteroffensive begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 System. Late at night. It was almost 11 o'clock. Brothers, do you want to quickly accumulate your first pot of gold in life? Come and join our WeChat member group. There are real cases here, which guarantee that you will get more value for money. Just send a private message for a red envelope of 199, and you can join the group. Alas, liar, the young man with delicate features was lying in a simple single room with mottled paint and some peeling walls, revealing the white lime inside. In addition to a large wardrobe, a bed and a desk, the only items that looked more valuable were the smartphone in Luo Wen's hand and the whirring electric fan. It's summer now, and today is June 30th, 2020. According to the minimum standard configuration of a rental house, there should be an air conditioner, right? Unfortunately, in this village in the city, the rent for an air-conditioned room is 100 yuan more than the rent for a room without air conditioning. Put a wet towel on your stomach and turn on the fan to level 3. It is actually very easy to get through the night. It is just a temporary place to sleep. When you go to work during the day, you can use the air conditioning. The more money you can save, the better. While scrolling through Douyin, Luo Wen curled his lips, indicating that he did not buy into the success theory. He did not stop his thumb until he saw a computer digital blogger assembling a computer video. However, his brows were slightly relaxed, and his thoughts were still immersed in the troubles of the day. Luo Wen, 25 years old, is from Ahem, which is the capital of Kaianhu province in the central region of Zaire. He is not a migrant worker, but a genuine local. It's just that Ahem is too big, and is divided into 3 areas by the Yangtze River and the Han River. He now works in Langyang district, and his home is in Jiangling district on the other side of the Yangtze River, and it is a rural area in the suburbs. No car and no girlfriend are not the top priorities. He has worked for nearly 7 years, and saved 100,000 yuan intermittently. In addition, his family finally raised a down payment for him, saying that he should go to the unit to get an income certificate, and then go to the bank to apply for a home loan. As a result, a salary income completely supported by overtime pay, the income certificate issued by the company's finance department, the number 2400 on it is really particularly glaring. The income conditions are not met, and the loan is terminated. 350,000 yuan for 30 years, and a monthly repayment of 1910 yuan, less than 2,000 yuan. Obviously, his monthly income is almost 5,000 yuan. How can the income conditions not be met? Damn, do banks also discriminate against workers who earn money by working overtime? On the surface of the blue planet, the economic development of a region can be known based on the brightness. In the universe with a black background, a fist-sized white light ball leisurely appeared above the near-Earth orbit of the blue planet. It seemed to have crossed the wormhole of time and space, ignoring the constraints of space distance. Ding, start system scanning. Ding, target selected. Ding, start binding program. Whoosh, the dim light flashed by. Such a small object could not be observed by the space telescope on the surface of the blue planet. Not to mention, it seemed to be the product of some advanced civilization. It was also very easy for the light ball not to want people to observe it. Squeak, quack, snakes, insects, rats and ants crawled in the dark corners of this urban village. From time to time, there were wild cats gathering together, whining for a long time, as if they were holding a blind date conference. As for this area, where the work and rest schedule is already chaotic, playing mahjong, drinking and chatting, couples fighting, no matter what kind of fight, there is never a real quiet time. Luo Wen thought that tomorrow would be his last day of work, and then he would have to take a half-month high-temperature vacation, so he stopped watching short videos. As for the noise outside the window, he has already gotten used to it. Ding, plug the phone into the charger, wet the towel again, and cover his chest with water. Luo Wen turned the fan to level 1. It is better to blow it gently at night, otherwise the water will evaporate quickly, and he will wake up from the heat before he falls asleep. Phew, drink today and worry about tomorrow. After adjusting his state, Luo Wen prepared to sleep and rest up to finish his last day of work. The company, when the market sales are not good in July and August every year, calls it a high temperature holiday. Who doesn't know that the hot weather in Lake City is in August and September? Now the company is on holiday just to save money and pay less basic salary. But what else can the workers do except cooperate silently? Whoosh. The moment he closed his eyes, an inconspicuous ball of light passed through the screen and glass and went straight into his head. Ding, the system has been bound. Host, hello. Huh. With his eyes wide open like copper bells, Luo Wen was sure that he had just heard a very clear voice in his mind, as if someone was talking in his ear. Snap, the white light came on, and the room was still the layout that Luo Wen was most familiar with. But where was the other figure? Although Luo Wen was poor, he never believed in ghosts and gods. He didn't have time to pick up the wet towel that fell on the ground. The strange voice just now made his back stand up with chills. Who was talking just now? Don't be nervous, I have no ill intentions. You can call me System. My full name is Plane Shuttle System, made by the god-level civilization. It can help the host to shuttle from the current main world to different time and space of different civilization levels, so as to obtain items and resources to strengthen himself and promote the progress of the main world civilization. A voice with no gender and no emotional fluctuations appeared in Luo Wen's mind again. This seems to be the consciousness communication in the legend. Suddenly, a piece of information appeared in Luo Wen's mind, as if it was copied into it by someone using a USB flash drive. The plane shuttle system is a high-tech product made by a god-level civilization. It shuttles through different material universes, looking for the target host it thinks is suitable, and then leads him, her, or it to travel to the different space generated by the cultural background of the main world, which can also be called a parallel universe, to help the host grow quickly. As for the purpose of the system, it is to collect data that the god-level civilization wants to collect. As for what specific data it is, the system prompts Luo Wen that he currently has insufficient authority and cannot know. Ding, the portable growth space has been activated. Ding, the main world has been anchored, and the shuttle function has been activated. Ding, the personal panel function is turned on, and the system mall has been activated. Ding, the first plane shuttle will be carried out in 1 hour. It is recommended that the host replenish supplies as soon as possible and make necessary preparations. It took only a few minutes for Luo Wen to suppress his panic and nervousness and finish reading the brief description of the system. Suddenly, several new system notifications came, which confused him for a while. Personal panel, host, Luo Wen race, human, level 0 technological civilization carbon-based creature, abilities, strength 1, ordinary person 1, agility 1, ordinary person 1, stamina 1, ordinary person 1, spirit 1, ordinary person 1. Talent, energy affinity, given by the system, life force. 50 years trading points. 100 points storage space. 1 meter dam. He doesn't smoke or drink and doesn't go for a bath for health care, but it shows that he only has 50 years to live. Doesn't this mean that he has already completed 1/3 of his life at this time? The sparse and ordinary 4-dimensional attributes are completely in line with Luo Wen's true situation. But what the hell is energy affinity? Luo Wen is also a modern youth who has read novels and played games. Although he is poor and has a tight budget, it does not mean that he is out of touch with the times. He also used a water cup to put away the portable space and took it out. He soon became very familiar with it. However, after reading the personal panel, Luo Wen nervously remembered the last notification. System, if I travel through the planes, I will be missing. Moreover, if I die in it, can I be resurrected? With temptation and expectation, Luo Wen has mastered the so-called consciousness communication of the system, which is to think with the brain without speaking. It is actually very simple. When traveling through the planes, the time and space of the main world are relatively still, and time acts on the host itself. Once the host dies, the main world returns to normal, and the system will also perform the screening of the next host. It would have been better if he hadn't asked. This question was also a pressure that Luo Wen had created for himself. Never mind, never mind. Opportunities and risks are always proportional. If you don't venture into the tiger's den, you can't get the tiger cub. If you want to be respected in front of others, you must suffer behind others first. Luo Wen also accepted his fate. Half scared and half excited, he began to put on his clothes and pants. Didn't I say before that the prompt will start the plane shuttle in 1 hour? He picked up the phone. In the time he was stunned and dazed, 10 minutes had passed. Click, the door of the room was opened, and the stairwell on the second floor, equipped with voice-controlled lights, also lit up. Click, Luo Wen began to walk downstairs in a hurry. The living room on the first floor was never locked, and it was full of bicycles. These were all tenants who rented this 4-story private house. Luo Wen was not very familiar with them, and they were not from the same unit. They just nodded when they met. Opening the half-open door and riding his bicycle, Luo Wen only hoped that the small supermarket at the intersection was still open, so that he could at least buy some food and drinks, as well as some knives and weapons. Chapter 2 Preparation. Wow, bang, bang, hey, boss, wait a minute, I want to buy something. Luo Wen pedaled his bicycle hard. The journey that usually takes 3 minutes only took half the time today. He didn't know whether it was the pressure brought by the upcoming system crossing, or because of his uncontrollable excitement. The closing time of the convenience supermarket at the intersection on weekdays mainly depends on the mood of the boss's wife. If the TV series she is watching is exciting, she may close at 12 o'clock. If she is bored, it is normal to close at 9 o'clock. Judging from the current situation, the boss's wife was so excited about the TV series today that she opened the store until after 11 o'clock. Click, the proprietress was wearing a very cool long dress with floral patterns. She didn't have any particularly attractive features. She was just an ordinary middle-aged woman. When she heard that someone wanted to buy something, she stopped the action of pulling the shutter door with the iron hook in her hand in a good temper. Young man, it's so late. You just got off the night shift, right? Come on, hurry up. I'm about to go to bed. In this urban village, her convenience supermarket is the largest and has the best geographical location. It is right in the center of a fork in the road. Large chain supermarkets cannot enter, and small grocery stores are not as well decorated as a whole floor supermarket with a full range of goods. The key is that, although the proprietress does not have an outstanding appearance and figure, she has a good temper. She closes at irregular times every day and later than other small convenience stores, and the prices are affordable. Haha, boss, you guessed it right. Sorry to disturb your rest. I'll be quick. I'll leave after I finish the shopping. The lady boss has been doing business in this area for many years. The flow of people coming and going has made her very accurate in judging people. She knew that this handsome young man who answered casually was dealing with her, but she didn't continue to ask. Although she didn't know the young man's name, she was familiar with him because she often bought things from him. She knew that he never bargained when buying things, and he would not steal. He was simple and straightforward, just like his handsome appearance, which made people feel a little relieved and liked. Otherwise, why would she, a woman, stay in the same room with a young man in the middle of the night and greet him with a smile? Biscuits, chocolate, mineral water, flashlight, weapons, kitchen knife. Luo Wen, who was holding a big bag, was about to choose the goods. He saw a long fruit knife for cutting watermelon and suddenly remembered that a 1 meter space should be a whole box of things, which could make more reasonable use of the space. Boss, please help me get these cookies, chocolates, and mineral water in whole quantities. Thank you. Oh, okay, I'll get them for you right away. I thought it was a small business before closing, but now it seems that this order is obviously a big one. The boss lady, who was sitting at the cash register with a drowsy look on her face, couldn't help but perk up and opened a small room on the side, which was full of neatly stacked goods. Luo Wen was not idle either. Some things did not need to be bought in whole boxes, so he also walked around between the shelves very skillfully, looking for the items on the shopping list. In his mind, 2 cartons of instant noodles. Because of their large size, Luo Wen changed to bagged ones, a total of 48 packs. To cartons of biscuits, 3 plus 2, a total of 48 packs. 8 boxes of chocolate. Luo Wen bought them all for the boss lady. 2 bottles of mineral water. A total of 48 bottles, scattered here and there. Luo Wen estimated that he could fill up his portable space, so he stopped the action of purchasing. 36 times 2 at 96 times 2 at beep beep. The boss lady flexibly pressed the calculator in her hand. Her eyes became brighter. The total is 2025. Young man, don't worry. Basically I will give you the retail and wholesale price, and I have calculated it twice, and it won't be wrong. The decimal of 25 will be rounded off, and the 2000 you give is exactly an integer. Okay, I'll scan it for you on WeChat. Luo Wen was very nervous and his heart was beating fast on the road, but after shopping for a while in the convenience supermarket, he gradually calmed down. The reason why the things are expensive is entirely because of the 8 large boxes of chocolates. One box is 138, otherwise a little food and drink would not cost thousands. Beep. WeChat payment of 2000 yuan. Hey, young man, how are you going to carry so many things back by yourself? Otherwise, I'll lend you a small cart, and you just remember to return it to me tomorrow. Luo Wen moved the things from the counter to the store door, and the proprietress also enthusiastically helped, and kindly offered suggestions to solve the problem. Yes, there are several full boxes, water and a big bag of tools. It is definitely impossible to carry them back in one trip with a bicycle. Looking at the time displayed on the phone, it is already 11:45. Shit, there are only 15 minutes left. Don't disappear on the way. It will not be good if you are caught by the community camera. But at this moment, the phone in Luo Wen's trouser pocket suddenly vibrated. Mom, it's so late. Why are you calling me? Oh, boss, thanks. You close the shop and have a rest. I'll call a friend to help me move the things. I'll take a call first. You can just put the things in the portable space. Why make more trips and waste time? As long as you don't scare the boss's wife in front of her, it will be fine. Move the things behind the big tree at the corner, where the camera can't see them. It's not that troublesome. Why bother with the trolley? Haha, that's fine young man. I'll leave you alone. Lock the door. The landlady saw that Luo Wen was a young man, and was on the phone at the time, so she thought there would be no problem. After saying hello, she pulled down the shutter door and left the street light outside the door on. Ta-ta, accompanied by the sound of footsteps in the house. The landlady should have gone upstairs, and there was no movement after that. Oh, Wenzi, after you returned to Langyang district today, the real estate agent just gave me another idea. He said that I can spend money to find someone to issue an income certificate. It's not expensive, only 800 yuan will do. Haha. Ren Gixiang on the other end of the phone couldn't help but feel excited. After hanging up the phone with the agent, she immediately told her eldest son the good news. Fuck. After all this time, Luo Wen finally understood the problem of insufficient cash flow and failure to approve the loan was actually the agent's request for more handling fees. Never mind, if his base salary wasn't low, the agent wouldn't be able to take advantage of this loophole. But when he thought of his mother, who was always used to saving money, and could easily say that 800 yuan was a bargain, Luo Wen was touched. Well, haha, that's a good thing. I'll try to come back early tomorrow afternoon, and see if I can make it before the bank closes at 5:30. Things had come to this point, and the down payment for the house was ready. It was naturally impossible for him to lose the big picture for a small one, because of a 500 yuan handling fee. Luo Wen comforted his mother softly, while forcibly suppressing his fear about the system shuttle, and tried to behave like his usual self. Well, Oklahoma, then I will go to the market to buy vegetables tomorrow afternoon, and when it's time to get off work, I will go back to the office to punch in. Luo Wen's mother is the person in charge of a cleaning company in the mall. This is obviously her privilege as a small leader. As for the unnaturalness in Luo Wen's tone, she just thought it was because her son was excited and didn't ask much. After telling him to come back early, Ren Gixiang hung up the phone. Whoosh, whoosh, Luo Wen's hand touched the packaging box, and then the things disappeared instantly. Phew, just right. Fortunately I didn't buy too much, otherwise it really can't fit. Luo Wen seems to have an innate talent for controlling time and size. It can't be called a talent, but it also allows him to avoid a lot of trouble in his daily work and life. Click, whoosh. Luo Wen secretly moved the supplies in the corner and looked around in the dim environment. Luo Wen, who was not afraid of the dark and did not believe in ghosts and gods, felt guilty for no reason today. After making sure that nothing was left out, he pushed his bicycle and began to speed back to his rental house. At 11:55, a short-sleeved young man riding a bicycle wanted to pedal out a residual image. Swish, as if a monster was chasing him, the leaves on the roadside were gently floating with the airflow. Squeak, click, thump, 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 thump. Time was tight, and Luo Wen concentrated his attention to 12 points and completed a series of actions including opening the door, closing the door, locking the bicycle, going upstairs, and entering his room. His efficiency was at least twice as high as usual. Ding, the plane travel is about to begin. Please adjust your breathing. Host, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoosh, a dim light flashed, and without having time to turn on the incandescent lamp, Luo Wen, with wide eyes and sweat on his forehead, disappeared in the rental house in the urban village. Click, and all the noise outside the window, even the dust floating in the air, seemed to be cast under the magic of time and space stagnation, no longer having any reaction or movement. Chapter 3, Crossing. A gust of cold wind blew by. Luo Wen opened his eyes. The sweat on his forehead, the heat and tension all over his body, were all drowned by the trees and white snowflakes within sight. Hiss, damn, it's so cold. The main color was still night, and on the road next to him, a car taillight was getting farther and farther away. Luo Wen shivered and rubbed his hands, stamped his feet, turned his head and looked around, trying to determine what time it was in this obviously modern world. Speed limit. Why is this in English? Below the English letters, there is a number 50. Damn, this sudden change in weather is fine, but it also sent me abroad. System, you are going to kill me. Luo Wen, a loser who graduated from a vocational high school, how could he understand English bird language? Although he could guess that this was probably a sign of the maximum speed limit, what use would it have? Ding, a mission is issued to obtain the Mark 42 armor and the extremis virus. The time limit is 1 year. The level of this mission is ordinary. The reward for completion is unknown. Failure will reduce 1/3 of the vitality in the real world. I'm so mad. The howling cold wind has almost caused Luo Wen's body temperature to lose balance and he can't support it. Although he is still conscious now, he is no longer able to complain about the system. He just wants to find a warm place so that he won't freeze to death in the wilderness of this foreign country. He guessed the beginning and prepared a lot of food and water, as well as some tools that Luo Wen thought were very important. What's the result? He died before he could accomplish his mission, and the system mission was issued. What Mark 42 armor? What extremis virus? And the time limit? Luo Wen was afraid that he couldn't make it tonight. Even if he made it, he was unfamiliar with the place and couldn't speak birds. How could he complete the mission in 1 year? There was no signal on the phone. This damn place should be the United States. What was the emergency number? While he still had consciousness, Luo Wen, wearing short sleeves, cropped trousers and sneakers, leaned against the roadside sign, squatted on the ground, and curled up his body as much as possible. He trembled and took out his smartphone, hoping that it could still bring him a ray of life. Why not go to the woods to find wood to burn for warmth? Luo Wen stepped into the 10-centimeter thick snow, and the snow reached his ankles. There were also faint howlings of animals like wild wolves in the woods. Luo Wen certainly couldn't try again. Besides, on the land covered with snow, there was nothing but white. Where could it be easy to find wood, especially dry wood, that could be ignited directly? Wow. Luo Wen dialed 911, 110, 112, but the phone didn't work at all. Sorry, no communication signal was found, and the call cannot be made. Time was still moving, but it was definitely not consistent with the time in this world. It just showed that Luo Wen had been in this world for 11 minutes. Fortunately, Luo Wen, who was holding a flashlight, did not give up directly and leave himself to fate. Instead, He took out the food packaging box from the storage space, tore it open, and ignited it with a lighter. Fortunately, he was smart before and did not buy things in bulk, otherwise the life-saving cardboard box would definitely be gone now. Crackling until the red flames ignited and reflected on his pale face, Luo Wen finally regained consciousness in his hands and feet. There were only so many cartons, and it was obviously impossible to burn until dawn. Luo Wen looked at both ends of the road and saw no signs of any car lights on. He decided to burn biscuits and instant noodles after the cartons were burned. If that didn't work, he would pour out the mineral water and burn plastic bottles. In a word, he had to persevere no matter what. Luo Wen didn't believe that the ironic ending of a living person traveling to a different time and space and being frozen to death at the beginning would happen to him. Iron Man 3. Rowan had seen this movie, although he could not remember the details clearly. After all, it had been released for several years. Although Rowan rewatched it by chance later, that was last year. Extremis Virus, Mark 42. According to the requirements of the system task, he could conclude that this was the world of Iron Man 3, which was already very good. Now, in addition to waiting by the roadside for a good-hearted person to pass by, Rowan could only try his best to control the speed of dropping the cardboard fragments. If he wanted to live longer, he could not let the fire light all over his body, which was too wasteful. And just as Rowan's body gradually adapted to this world and his mood began to calm down, a trace of mist that was invisible to the naked eye was quietly entering his body. Energy affinity, an unknown talent given to Rowan by the system, did not appear when he was on the blue star. But why did something start to drill into Rowan's body after arriving in this plane? Maybe one is a world with depleted spiritual energy, and this Marvel universe, because of the fantasy world where magic and technology coexist, has truly activated part of the function of energy affinity. Hey, why is my fire getting smaller and smaller, but my body is not so cold? Luo Wen looked at the 031 displayed on his mobile phone, and there was still no car passing by the road. He suddenly noticed the abnormality in his body. Friendly reminder, energy affinity talent, as a novice benefit, can gradually optimize the host's physique in an environment with abundant natural energy. Of course, if you can actively absorb energy, or practice some kind of exercises, this process may be more efficient. After the mission was released, no matter how Luo Wen called, the system had no response. Now it suddenly spoke, and began to answer Luo Wen's questions, which also scared him. Wait, system, I have a lot of questions to ask you. Is this the United States? Am I in the Marvel universe? After waiting for a moment, a gust of cold wind whistled past, and the snow on the branches fell, and then it was still silent. Damn, the veins on Luo Wen's forehead were about to burst, but being angry and depressed was of no use. The system that came and went without a trace has now become a mute again. He had to quietly feel and experience the changes in his body. Whoosh, whoosh, Luo Wen here was still making a small fire on the side of the road, waiting for the rescue of kind people. Above his head, a middle-aged man with smoke coming out of his tail and shouting inside a mecha was constantly approaching the road where he was. Chirp bang, 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 squeak. The dark red exterior, mixed with some gold, was stained, as if it had just been through a war. Rowan had already stood up from the ground with the cardboard in a daze. Isn't this the high-tech armor of Tony Stark, Iron Man? Damn, it actually fell right in front of him. System, I take back the friendly greetings that insulted you before. You are so kind, haha. He vaguely remembered that when Iron Man fell from the sky, there were clearly a lot of cars passing by on the road. Why are there no cars now? Rowan didn't care about that, and ran forward excitedly. Although the temperature was still very low, he was not so unconscious and powerless now. I don't know if it was because of the fire for heating, or the influence of the energy affinity transformation of physical fitness. Anyway, Rowan's mood at this time was like a little fan who was about to see his idol in person. With a crackle, the slender mecha, which was about 2 meters long, was emitting electric sparks. The parts shrank and clicked, opening the armor in front, allowing a middle-aged man with a round blue light on his chest and a bloody face to get up and get out smoothly. Hi, Jarvis? Creak, creak. Tony Stark heard footsteps behind him and immediately became nervous and alert. He turned his injured and uncomfortable body and felt a dull pain in his chest. Coupled with the cold weather, he hissed and gasped for cold air. But for Tony Stark, these were far less than the panic caused by the attack and the tension caused by worrying about Pepper Potts' safety. More importantly, Jarvis was offline at this time. Black hair, black eyes, thin figure, Asian? It seems that he is not a pursuer sent by the Mandarin. Who are you? Ding, different languages are detected, and the system language module has been loaded. My name is Rowan. I accidentally walked here and got lost. Do you need help? Under the nervous gaze of Tony Stark, Rowan spoke authentic New York English. He had just guessed that this Asian youth would not sneak into the United States and then escape from the snakehead. Now it seems that this is obviously unreasonable. Oh, hello, Rowan. By the way, do you know where there is a town and a phone nearby? Tony Stark did not introduce himself, but looked very familiar and began to ask Rowan about the situation. That's right, with the reputation of Iron Man in this world, seeing his face in person may be a little uncertain, but lying on the ground, turning into a human-shaped metal shell of the Iron Man battlesuit, who can't guess that he is Tony Stark? Well, didn't I just say I was lost? Rowan suppressed the excitement in his heart, as well as his gratitude for the system's understanding. At this time, he couldn't help but reveal an expression, as if he was looking at an idiot. Could it be that Tony Stark fell from the sky and broke his brain? Chapter 4 Contact. Hiss, Rowan, how did you get here? With the help of the strange Asian youth, Tony Stark and the other man dragged the Mark 42 armor to the side of the road. Now they were rubbing their hands to keep warm beside the rekindled fire. Compared to Rowan, Tony Stark was at least wearing a woolen sweater and thickened trousers. The reason why he was cold was because of the blood loss caused by the injury, which was a natural reaction of the body. As for why it was a year since the last time he watched a movie, and Rowan was still able to confirm that the battlesuit on strike was the Mark 42 armor required by the system task, that was because when Rowan touched the cold metal shell, the system prompt in his mind rang. The mission item Mark 42 armor was detected, and the volume was too large. Please obtain the fully authorized version as soon as possible. Damn, the unrealistic thoughts that had just arisen in Rowan's heart were immediately extinguished by the falling snow. He thought that, as long as he touched something with his hands, he could directly transfer it to the storage space. Now it seems that it is obviously not possible. At least this damaged Mark 42 that cannot be deformed and folded cannot work. Haha, do you want some chocolate? I see that you don't look very good. I was brought here by someone, but when they knew that I had no money, they abandoned me on the way. With a bitter smile and helplessness on his face, Rowan acted like a poor man who made friends carelessly. When it is true, it is false. Anyway, he was indeed brought here by someone. Sitting on the cardboard box, the tragic experience of the same wanderer in the world brought the two people closer invisibly. Although Tony Stark couldn't figure out the purpose and details of the Asian youth in front of him, after Rowan knew that forcible seizure was not feasible, he also silently changed his strategy, provided help within his ability, played the emotional card, and tried to leave a good impression. It would be best if Tony Stark owed him a favor, and maybe he could get his reward later. The situation has become so bad that it can't get any worse. Rowan can only do his best to complete the system task. Disinfectant wipes, band-aids, chocolates. Rowan turned around and pulled out a plastic bag from the snow. It was dark, and with only a flashlight and a fire, Tony Stark was still concentrating on studying the extent of the damage to the suit. With the help of Rowan's flashlight, he was thinking about how to repair it. He was also worried about Pepper Potts, who was far away in New York. He wondered if she was safe now. Oh, Luo, thank you so much. With the help of Rowan, Tony Stark wiped the blood off his face while eating chocolate. There were several band-aids on Tony Stark's face. Just as Rowan had guessed, they were just minor scratches. Otherwise he wouldn't be so alive and kicking now. Nothing. It's all I can do. Oh, by the way, Tony, do you know where this is? Maybe you can help me find the town. Giloo. The blood on his face was cleaned, and the high-calorie food needed for the body was replenished. Tony Stark also gradually became familiar with Rowan. Luo, I'm so lucky to meet you here. Don't worry, after I contact my butler, I will repay you well. According to your Chinese saying, a drop of water should be repaid with a spring of water. Yes, it seems to be this sentence, right? Haha. Bang. Tony Stark sat heavily on the battlesuit. He looked very uninhibited and casual, but Rowan could feel the truth and sincerity in his eyes. If this is really a movie world, Tony Stark is really good to his friends. Of course, as long as you don't bother him when he is picking up girls or rolling in the sheets, it's fine. Before Jarvis was offline, he told me that this was an emergency flight plan he made. I didn't expect that he would set the destination to Tennessee, more than 1,000 kilometers away. Oh, by the way, this place seems to be called Rose Hill, and it is 5 kilometers away from the nearest town. China? Is it also an oriental country with Han culture? When Rowan heard these two words, his expression was unconsciously stunned, because in his world, they clearly have the same geographical location and long-standing cultural background, but his country is called Xiago. Is this a movie world created by another parallel universe, or is it Blue Star? Tennessee. Oh, indeed, you flew here from New York, so you must have encountered an emergency, right? Hugh Tony Stark, with a fuller figure, although only a few centimeters taller than Rowan, but because of his age and frequent exercise, Rowan looks a little thin and slender. But Rowan is 175 centimeters tall and weighs 55 kilograms. It's just because he always works outside, but when he takes off his clothes, he still has a lot of strength, not completely powerless. At this time, the two of them use the high-strength fiber ropes that popped out of their battlesuits to pull the battlesuits in the snow and headed due north. Rowan was wearing summer clothes, but the suggestion to stop and rest for a breath was always made by Tony Stark. Compared to the physical work he often does at work, Rowan did not feel that he could not hold on when dragging a 100 kilogram suit with Tony. On the contrary, because of the continuous strengthening of the body by energy affinity and the heat generated by exertion, the cold weather was no longer so unbearable. However, Iron Man himself wanted to stop and rest, and Rowan also followed suit and took out the mineral water and chocolate hanging on the other shoulder to share. After all, according to the timeline of the plot, Tony Stark seemed to be in his early 40s at this time, and it was normal for him to be physically exhausted. After taking a rest and catching his breath, the two continued along the road and started to hurry on their way, chatting briefly from time to time. It can be said that in this isolated and helpless wilderness, they had a common experience of suffering. Snowflakes were floating in the sky, and Rowan was lighting up with a flashlight in his hand. Although Tony Stark had to stop and rest from time to time, he had no complaints and had a down-to-earth feeling that was completely inconsistent with his wealthy identity. That's right, the prototype of Iron Man, but this crazy inventor made it with his own hammer. After being kidnapped in the desert for several months, he seemed to have shed his mortal body and transformed into an Iron Man who was integrated with the battlesuit. The human body, the heart of steel. Creak, creak. Wow, men can speak freely, but that depends on the specific environment, especially when they continue to consume physical strength and are exhausted. The only way is to hold their breath and not let it out. The atmosphere was relatively silent for a while, and the bright blue light set off Tony Stark's resolute western face. Rowan also adjusted the rope on his hand to restore the blood circulation of his palms wrapped in plastic packaging. The time on Luo Wen's phone has jumped from 0-100 hours to 2:45, which also means that almost 2 hours have passed since he met Tony Stark, had a brief contact, and then decided to go together. After walking through a bush, the two of them suddenly saw a bright light in front of them, and their vision became wider. Oh, Luo, we finally got out. The flashing neon lights of Texaco store are so touching that it makes people burst into tears. Not only was Luo Wen's problem of speaking and communicating solved by the system, but the English letters he saw were also automatically converted into Chinese and English in his mind. Yeah, we finally got out. Compared to Tony Stark's relief, under Luo Wen's smiling expression, his heart was filled with more worries and fears about the unpredictable. Loneliness and solitude, as long as you can survive, can be regarded as simple thinking that doesn't require any brain power. However, people and society require Luo Wen to slowly explore again, which is much more complex. Chapter 5 Farewell. The gas exhaled from the mouth condensed into a ball of white mist in the air. Looking at Tony Stark, he put the mannequin cloak at the door of the store on himself naturally, just like taking something from his own home. Rowan just smiled meaningfully. It was a familiar and real scene. Roni, do you have a place to go? Haha, what do you think? Don't worry, I won't cause you any trouble. I will find a place to stay for myself later. Maybe someone in this city will offer me a job so that I can support myself. Rowan waved his hand to show that he didn't care. Tony Stark looked at the young man in front of him, but his heart was complicated. Perseverance, optimism, self-reliance, how much like his younger self. Rowan, I think we are already friends, aren't we? I'm in a bad situation right now. There are some things and dangers that I don't want to involve you. Maybe after this crisis is over, I will arrange a better job and accommodation for you. I owe you a favor. Do you believe me? When he came out, he didn't even have time to take his cell phone with him except for the prodigal Mark 42 armor he was wearing. Wallet? Tony Stark never used a wallet, so it was impossible for him to write a check to Rowan now. 12 o'clock. What did you say? Oh, nothing. Haha, of course. I'm honored to be friends with Iron Man. Rowan silently noted down the time on the electronic clock hanging on the wall of the store. At the same time, he felt that his trip was worthwhile with his sincere recognition of Tony Stark. I have just called the security number of my private server. Maybe Pepper will know that I'm still alive. Alas, the reason why the private server is private is that, unless Pepper takes the initiative to access it, the message just now will only remain in it. But without Jarvis encryption, Tony would not dare to contact anyone directly. After all, the attack encountered during the day showed that the strength of the Mandarin was really unexpected. After seeing the real Iron Man, Rowan's memories of the plot that had been sealed in the corner were gradually unlocked. She must know. Aren't you two soulmates who understand each other? Well, yes, Pepper won't give up. She will definitely wait for me to go back and find her. Rowan naturally knew that this middle-aged man, after turning over a new leaf, cherished and took his feelings seriously, and little Pepper was indeed the most suitable life partner for him. However, although lovers finally get married, if this world is the Marvel Universe, Tony Stark will eventually sacrifice his life to save the fate of the human race on Earth. What a pity. Iron Man, the dignified heir of Stark Industries, under Rowan's watchful eyes, first stole the Indian wooden man's cape, and by the way, helped Rowan, who was wearing short-sleeved shirts and denim shorts, to steal a coat. Then he found a garage of a single-family building nearby, pried open the chain, and moved the prodigal son in together. The operating table, screwdriver wrenches, and various messy parts were exactly the ideal workshop Tony was looking for. Rob, I estimate that I will be able to repair my battlesuit soon, and I will soon be able to find the mastermind behind this crisis. By then, whether you are still here or not, I will find you. Bang bang. Rowan patted the helmet of the metal armor for the last time. Listening to the crisp and solid sound, an expression of reluctance appeared on his face. Oh, I didn't expect that you like these two, Rowan. I'll give you a new set then. It's not that Tony Stark is generous, or that he is impulsive. A set of combat suits that can remove weapons and equipment, and require Jarvis's assistance to operate, and it is not a big deal to thank your lifesaver, right? Even Colonel Rhodes, who is in the National Department, was able to take away a full set of Patriots, because of his personal relationship with him. That's great, Tony, thank you. I hope everything goes well for you in the future. Maybe the next time we meet, we will both get through the difficult situation in front of us. Well, I hope so. Take care. Goodbye, Luo. Some people may live under the same roof for many years, and they are still just strangers who nod to each other, while some people, from the first time they meet, become good friends who trust each other because of magical fate. Luo Wen put on his coat, left the garage, and disappeared in the vast snowy night. Tony looked at his back and could only send good wishes, and then turned around to rest his only reliance at this time. The closer we get to the center of the city, the brighter the lights become. There are colorful lights, Christmas trees, drunk young people, blonde hair, white skin, wooden houses of different styles, and the transition to reinforced concrete buildings. Round's body and mind are also adjusting themselves at a very fast speed. He has no goals and no direction. As for why he didn't stay in the garage and stay with Tony for another night, wouldn't it be better to go out during the day tomorrow? That's because Tony Stark didn't mean to, and Round was not a person without vision. Besides, illegally invading the garage is illegal. Round didn't want to take risks. He could act very naturally when he met in the suburbs before, because it was originally an encounter. But the more he came into contact with them, the more he took the initiative to find excuses to stay, which would arouse Tony's suspicion, which would be bad. By the way, that Happy, what's Happy's last name? Megan Hogan? Walking on the street, avoiding the sight of the crowd, Round cautiously explored this strange human town. Thoughts were flying in his mind, thinking about the next action and plan. Iron Man is the protagonist, even if there is a little butterfly like himself, it will not change the plot too much. The final victory should still belong to him, not that crazy Dr. Killian. As long as Tony solves the mastermind behind the scenes, the Mark armor promised to him will surely keep his promise. But, what about the Extremis virus? No matter what his last name is, first find the square where Happy was attacked, and then wait for the next chance encounter with Tony. Now that he had an idea, Round's steps began to become firm. Seeing the staggering man and woman walking in front, Round tightened his coat and greeted them with a smile. Hey Jack, is there a person in front without pants? Long red curly hair, white skin like snow, but the freckles on the cheeks ruined her overall impression. Hot body, three-dimensional facial features. When Round first met this exotic and beautiful girl from a distance, he gave her 8 points. After approaching, a pungent smell of alcohol hit his nose, coupled with the obvious freckles. The score instantly dropped to 7 points. Rose, isn't he wearing shorts? You drank too much. Burp, vomit. A young white man in a red down jacket held onto a street lamp and began to vomit. The red-haired girl, who should be his girlfriend, walked up to him, stroking his back and laughing at him softly. Hello, do you know where the bombing site is? Hiccup, oh, how pitiful. Are you also going to commemorate the relatives of the deceased? Go along this road, Hiccup, walk to 15th Street, and then walk about 800 meters to the left. You should be able to see the memorial wall, as well as flowers and candles dedicated to the victims. Although the young men and women drank a little too much, after hearing the specific questions Luo Wen asked, they all expressed their sympathy and pointed the way for him. Luo Wen glanced at his phone, which had only 20% battery. He was planning to charge it before going to sleep, but the scene changed, and he was transported to another world. After being surprised and shocked, Luo Wen tried hard to integrate into this world and complete the task as quickly as possible, so that he could return to the main world. The phone, which had no signal or call function, could only be used as a watch. According to the electronic wall clock in this world, Luo Wen readjusted the date and time. December 23rd, 2012, 1 hour, 25 minutes and 35 seconds am. Chapter 6 Metamorphosis. Mark 42 armor is just a serial number, or a digital code sprayed on it, after it is newly assembled. It does not mean that the larger the number, the better the performance of the armor. Well, it is just not so absolute. However, the larger the number, the later the armor is produced, and the more new technologies will be used. Tony Stark is a battlesuits fanatic. He may produce new mechas according to different functions, such as high-speed flight, close combat, radar invisibility, radiation protection, wine cellar handling, and even exterior coloring. He keeps producing new mechas. Anyway, it is a fully automatic production line, and Stark Industries has such economic strength to let him squander. Of course, there are also some factors of battle damage. For some battlesuits, Tony will carry out modular modification. The smaller the number, the higher the combat effectiveness may be. Anyway, to sum it up, different numbers actually represent different functions. Until the appearance of Mark 50 armor, because it uses nanotechnology, it can be called a pioneering product with the most outstanding comprehensive capabilities. The system designated the Mark 42 armor, probably because it uses a modular design and has the ability to automatically wear. Although the comprehensive ability is not as good as the previous suits, it has become the protagonist suit of Iron Man 3 because of its ingenious design. The system previously prompted that Ran should obtain the complete authorized armor, which is obviously not limited to the one that Tony himself wears. It should be that, as long as it uses the same design, can be powered by a single module, and can be automatically worn. In fact, what Ran wants most should be Tony Stark's posthumous work, the Mark 85 Nano Armor 2.0, which is modified on the basis of the Mark 50. It has a more handsome appearance, a more powerful energy cannon, and even a stable energy shield. But thinking about the degree of danger in Avengers 4 Endgame, Ran still wishes that it would be best not to travel to that timeline, especially when he is still just a small scum with a combat power of only 5. At least, I have to wait until I have a foothold and can compete with those cosmic power 6 infinity stones. That's a real artifact, huh? What imaginative young man can say no to supernatural power? When Luo Wen found the square where the explosion occurred, the candlelight on the roadside was still swaying in the dark night, flickering. It seemed that someone had come to commemorate the dead not long ago. The broken walls were pitch black, and 6 clear human figures could be seen, just like the silhouette left when the human tissue was instantly vaporized and blocked the fire. When the explosion occurred, the nearby streets have been cleared by the municipal department, and the scene on the roadside has been cordoned off with no entry written on it. The nearly 1,000 square is full of traces of terror left when the disaster occurred. People who come to watch in the dark will unconsciously feel a creepy mood. For Luo Wen, the scenes of killing pigs, cows, and dogs were commonplace because he grew up in the countryside. But people had died here before, and it was a miserable death. Only a figure of them existing in this world was left on the wall as the final evidence. Ugh, my throat was dry, and I could smell a strange burnt smell. In the novel, how did the male protagonist remain indifferent and kill people like cutting melons? It may be because of the setting of the novel author, but for Luo Wen, who was in this situation, fear of the dark did not exist. He was used to working the night shift and walking at night and picking up materials alone in an unmanned material warehouse late at night. It was just that his body had gradually adapted to the cold temperature. At this time, suddenly a cold breath flowed from the coccyx to the whole body, and his scalp began to numb. Haha. Putting his hands together, he bowed his head and prayed. Every wrong has its perpetrator. Every debt has its creditor. I'm just passing by. No matter whether people here believe in reincarnation or not, I just hope that in your next life, you will not be reborn in America, where disasters are frequent. Luo Wen found a small alley nearby that was sheltered from the wind and had no snow. Looking at the mist coming out of the manhole cover, he thought that there might be some facilities such as a thermal power plant nearby. He found some clean cardboards and simply pieced them together to make a temporary residence. Luo Wen was not particular. He did not care much about the various slight odors he smelled. Fortunately, it was winter now. More importantly, Luo Wen was really tired now. The double pressure, both physical and mental, was like a continuous tide sweeping over him. Frightened and extremely nervous, he was already very upset because of the house buying and entertainment during the day, but then he encountered a mysterious system that suddenly appeared and rushed him to the Iron Man world, where he met Tony Stark in person and established a good friendship by chance. After 4 hours of energy affinity enhancement, Ran felt that his strength had been increasing, and his physical strength and endurance were also verified during the hauling trip not long ago. However, his eyelids were getting heavier, his head was muddy, and his thoughts were starting to become slow and unclear. This was obviously the body's instinct reminding Ran that he should rest and have a good sleep. Gurgle, the stomach growled. His physical fitness was constantly improving, and his appetite was getting bigger and bigger. Wow. He wolfed down 2 long chocolate bars and drank half a bottle of mineral water. Puff. Luo Wen closed the cardboard and used his coat as a pillow under his head. Although there was still a trace of cold wind pouring in from the gap, he closed his eyes and never looked around again. In a dark dream space, Luo Wen's consciousness embodied his own image, which was falling. continuously falling, and outside the dream, Luo Wen's body seemed to be running automatically, and the misty air became denser and faster, and drilled into his body cells. Although his consciousness had fallen into a deep sleep, it released the suppression of energy affinity to absorb free energy, making it faintly fit a certain great way truth. In the small cardboard space, a hazy white light lit up. The glimmering light seemed to be coming from Luo Wen's skin. A trace of black and turbid sweat slowly seeped out from the pores. His body muscles were slowly becoming fuller and more streamlined. The inside of the bones was creaking, as if undergoing some kind of transformation, making a slight sound that could be heard by the flesh. The wind gradually stopped, and the sun's rays pierced the sky. People and vehicles on the street kept passing by outside the alley. The cleaners on the garbage truck came in and pushed away the garbage in the trash can. Seeing the homeless vagrant, they didn't bother to disturb them. Who knows if the guy inside is a drug addict or a drunkard? If the smell is not right, then call 911 and let them deal with it. Anyway, it's not their business. It's better to do less than more. This is a universal principle. Tony Stark did not appear here. I don't know if it was because he was afraid of being discovered during the day, or maybe he hasn't woken up yet. In short, no one cares about Rowan, who is lying here. The morning news, newspapers, and radio stations across the country are broadcasting the news of Stark Industries. To be more precise, it was the Mandarin who attacked Tony Stark's residence, and various departments are searching for the whereabouts of Iron Man. The earth is still turning, and conspiracy and justice will continue to collide, bursting out new sparks. Chapter 7 Amplification. The busy streets were crowded with people. As the sky darkened, the number of people gradually decreased. The howling north wind made every passerby who was still walking outside after dark wrap his collar tightly, and then hurried back to his warm home. Oh, ha ha. A middle-aged man wearing a military green coat and a camouflage baseball cap was holding the wall at the entrance of the alley, panting rapidly, as if his chest was congested, making him want to expose his chest directly to breathe. The movement of his hands did not stop. He took off his coat, a red work vest, and a thick plaid long shirt inside. Hey, what's wrong with you? A footstep that was obviously much lighter stepped on the frozen hard road and caught up with the middle-aged man and showed a very concerned expression. Ha ha, the middle-aged man who couldn't run. Was he hiding from this harmless child? He pulled off his hat and sat on the ground with a puff. He used the snow beside him to put on his face to calm himself down quickly, and then he let out a long breath. After the middle-aged man adjusted himself like this, it was obvious that the stuffiness in his chest was relieved a lot. It's all your fault. You tricked me. Oh. The little boy dodged the snowball of the middle-aged man. Hey. Isn't this middle-aged man Tony Stark? Okay, let's get back to the topic. Where are the relatives and family of the deceased? Mrs. Davis, where does she live? The old place. I can take you to find her. That really helps me. Let's go. Creaking, the footsteps of one big and one small disappeared into the night. In the alley behind them, an acquaintance Tony had just separated from not long ago finally opened his eyes at this time. Luo Wen had a very strange dream. In the dream, he kept falling in the endless void. Later, a warm current gradually came from the silent void around him, and then wrapped his whole body. However, the scene of his body falling continued, and he also heard a familiar voice speaking nearby. It was obviously English, but he had no hearing impairment at all. The panic and fear gradually became less serious. Luo Wen actually knew that he was dreaming, just like an outsider, standing in the perspective of God, seeing his subconsciousness constantly falling. I don't know if it's the same for other people, whether it's being bitten by a snake, being chased by a ghost, or an endlessly repeating nightmare. It's a wonderful fantasy that makes people unable to stop. Anyway, part of Luo Wen's consciousness always remains awake, knowing clearly that, as long as he starts to concentrate, the main consciousness and body trapped in the dream will wake up from the dream slumber, but he rarely does this. This absolutely awake consciousness is like Luo Wen's second personality, calm, rational, and enjoys watching the main consciousness perform in the dream. Until the main consciousness wants to go to the toilet and is ready to ejaculate, he will helplessly help the main consciousness and urge him to wake up from the dream quickly. But don't pee on the bed. Oh my god, did I only sleep for a short time, or did I sleep too long? Why is it still dark? As if there was a layer of armor restraining his movements, Luo Wen fumbled around for his phone. Pieces of dry grey black dirt, along with dandruff fragments, kept falling off. A flashlight. After searching for a long time, it didn't feel like his bed. Shit, Luo Wen's consciousness finally recovered from his half-awake state. I seem to have traveled through time. My phone seems to be in the storage space. He took out his phone and saw that it was 8:30 in the evening. Luo Wen was sure that he had slept for almost 10 hours. There was a layer of something like shed skin in the cardboard box, which looked a bit disgusting. Luo Wen also realized that there was still a part of his body that was blocked by the clothes. He lifted the clothes and gently lifted it, revealing the white and rosy crystal skin underneath. Could it be the legendary cleansing the meridians and removing the marrow? After tidying up everything, he shook off his only coat. The coat was a little loose yesterday, but it seemed to fit him better after he put it on. Oh, right, the summer clothes he wore when he came here also seemed to have become a size smaller. It wasn't that Luo Wen's senses were wrong, but this was the fact. He grew almost 3 centimeters taller. Not only did he feel relaxed and unobstructed, but he also felt full and satisfied mentally. The smell in the air seemed to be able to distinguish whether it was a dead mouse, food residue, or human excrement. The falling snowflakes in the air were whirring and had a very slight friction with the air. Although the flashlight he was holding was not turned on, in the dim environment, he could see the twinkling stars in Luo Wen's eyes. System, open the attribute panel. By the way, did Tony just pass by here? The thought flashed through his mind, quickly and efficiently. Brown took out biscuits and water from the storage space to replenish the needs of his thirsty body while carefully studying the holographic projection in front of him. Host, Brown race, human, level 0 technological civilization carbon-based creature, ability, strength 10, ordinary person 1, agility 10, ordinary person 1, stamina 10, ordinary person 1, spirit 5, ordinary person 1, talent, energy affinity, given by the system, life force. 100 years trading points. 100 points storage space. 1 meter fuck, the attributes are basically doubled by 10 times, and, am I right, even the vitality is doubled. Oh my god, I just woke up from a nap. How did I become a little Superman? Rose Hill City is not very big, at least compared to New York. It is more like a small town. The reason why Tony Stark appeared here was because of his bodyguard Happy. Because of Happy's meddling, he tracked down suspicious people and came to this small town thousands of miles away from New York. After the explosion, Happy was seriously injured and unconscious. Tony Stark also made a harsh statement, saying that he would have a life and death duel with the Mandarin. Soon he was also attacked by the enemy armed helicopter with heavy firepower in his villa. Unprepared and unconscious, he naturally forgot the destination stored in Jarvis' flight plan. This was the city of Rose Hill, the source of all crises. The enemy can avoid Jarvis's monitoring system and send out armed helicopters. Behind all these, Tony Stark understands the difficulty of the matter. Before he can really find out the details and purpose of the enemy, he must use his own death to act quietly. Whoever encounters the test of life and death will surely become extra cautious and careful like him. Fortunately, after Tony landed with his suit damaged, he was rescued by a kind-hearted young man, and with the help of the children of the garage's owner, he soon learned an important intelligence. That is, the initiator of the bombing attack was actually a poor veteran, and his mother, Mrs. Davis, must know more information. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Conflict. The Walker Bar. The lights were bright, and the men and women inside were enjoying the festive atmosphere of Christmas Eve, drinking and chatting. Bang, there were also people playing billiards on the billiard table in the middle, mixed with cheerful music. There was a noisy and lively atmosphere inside, and a middle-aged blonde woman with a lonely and sad face was drinking alone with tears in her eyes. holding a soldier's nameplate in her hand. "Mrs. Davis, do you mind if I sit down?" Tony Stark could understand the pain of a mother who lost her son in middle age. Just like when he was a teenager, his parents died suddenly in a car accident. Huh? No one stopped you, right? Tony Stark found the real Mrs. Davis and wanted to remove her guard against strangers. It happened that Tony was an expert in this area, and the name of women's friend was not in vain. "Okay, I brought you the information. I just hope you can help me find out the real cause of my son's death. I don't believe he is a terrorist as people say." Huh. Secret files. Missing persons in action. Tony Stark was obviously stunned when he saw the folder the woman handed over. How could it be such a coincidence? He had just gained Mrs. Davis's trust, and she happened to bring what he wanted? "You seem to be waiting for someone else, right?" "Wow, wait, isn't this organization?" "Yes, Mrs. Davis, I believe your son did not commit suicide. He was used by someone. I assure you that someone used him as a weapon." "Huh? What? Are you sure?" "Wait, wasn't it you who called me to meet before?" Under the dual effects of sadness and alcohol, the middle-aged woman seemed to be a little slow to react. She tried to see the man in front of her clearly. Why? The more she looked at him, the more familiar he looked. Bang. "Actually, I called Mrs. Davis. Haha. Lady's uniform, white low-necked shirt, but messy chestnut hair, fierce temperament, and scars on the face, ruined her overall image." Looking at the national emblem and certificate that suddenly appeared on the table, as well as its owner, Tony still had some impression of this uninvited guest who suddenly interrupted their conversation. "Isn't this the woman he just saw on the road?" Swish. The visitor said no more and directly twisted Tony's right hand behind his back with incredible strength. He didn't even have the strength to resist. Squeak. Click. Handcuffs. Oh, what happened? The movement in the corner of the bar attracted the attention of others. A burly middle-aged man with white temples walked here, with a righteous face and a serious sense of justice, just like a policeman. Bang. Under the gaze of everyone, the woman had handcuffed Tony Stark's hands behind his back and pushed him to the ground. "Oh, you are the local sheriff, right?" "Yes, I'm the sheriff. Who are you?" The woman looked much smaller than Tony. Facing the burly sheriff who came forward to ask questions, she did not show any panic or nervousness. Instead, she showed a smile of her own. "Department of Homeland Security. Any other questions?" The woman showed her ID again, but for the experienced male sheriff in Rose Hill, nothing and no criminal could escape his eyes, not to mention this suspicious female agent. "Oh, of course there is a problem. You'd better explain the whole story clearly, otherwise I have reason to doubt your law enforcement power." "Oh, I'm afraid your level is not high enough, Sheriff." More and more people gathered around, and the woman began to get impatient. The male sheriff felt that there was something wrong with the woman's identity. "Then you should at least say hello to Nashville. This is Tennessee. Even the Department of Homeland Security cannot enforce the law on my territory at will." Click, click, haha. I hope that the problem could be solved peacefully, but some interesting methods are always more effective. "Deputy, arrest her and let me fight the governor." The woman's naturally drooping palm began to emit a red light, and the metal badge in her hand melted directly into molten iron and ripped onto the floor. Swish. Tony Stark, who witnessed such horrific details behind her, had widened his eyes in disbelief. When he was about to speak out, to remind the sheriff to be careful, puff, the hot knife was inserted into the butter. The red-haired woman who quietly approached the sheriff had already pressed the molten iron in her hand on his face. Ah. No blood flowed out, but a burst of high temperature burned the skin, emitting a burning smell. Swish. Although the woman was petite, her movements and strength were far beyond the standards of ordinary people. She snatched the police gun from the deputy's waist holster. Bang, bang. The sheriff's scream stopped abruptly, and the deputy sheriff didn't react in time. He was also shot in the chest and fell to the ground. Oh, wow. The bar was instantly in chaos. The onlookers ran out of the bar one after another. The boss behind the bar hid below and called the police. "Hey, hot girl, do you want to play with me? Come on, come and catch me." Tony Stark, who was handcuffed, escaped from the bar while the woman was shooting the sheriff and the deputy sheriff. Before leaving, He did not forget to make some verbal provocations to the woman. He was the heart of Iron Man. In the case of blazing fire, did he not care whether he was wearing a battle suit or not? Oh, I just ran 2 steps forward, and a bald man with a red face and a playful smile came down from the black car. He picked up the pistol and aimed at Tony Stark. Fuck, this woman actually has an accomplice. Bang, bang, wow. The bald man took out his pistol calmly and was about to finish off the iron person who was making trouble. He obviously didn't know that the middle-aged man he ignored was the famous Tony Stark. After all, the night was dim, and Tony Stark without the Iron Man suit was not so well known. Fortunately, the little boy Hal who failed to enter the bar had a snowball that interfered with the bald man's aiming angle. 2 bullets hit the car next to Tony. Oh, help, help. Call the police. Ah. Wow. Pedestrians on the street were frightened by the sudden gunshot and fled in all directions, while the red-haired woman and the bald man had already joined together, holding guns calmly, and ran straight to Tony Stark who was hiding behind the car. The bar owner came out to help with good intentions, but he lost his life for no reason, and he also gave the red-haired woman a long spray gun. Wow. Glass scattered all over the floor. The situation was critical, and it was urgent. Tony Stark flew over and smashed the window of a store nearby with his shoulder, thinking of using the narrow space to deal with the 2 firemen. This was obviously not tempered glass produced by a Chinese factory, otherwise he would have been hit so hard that he would see stars. In the dark night, a figure ran towards the scene at a speed far exceeding that of a normal person. The people who were running in the opposite direction could only see a blurry figure. They were not sure if they were too scared and nervous, so they had an illusion, or if someone could really run so fast that only a shadow was left behind. Damn, with my current physical fitness, it shouldn't be so easy for me to be killed. Luo Wen suppressed the tension in his heart and increased the frequency of his running pace. His previous help could only win Tona's favor. If he wanted to have a deeper friendship, he had to show his value. Chapter 9 We meet again. Boom. Bang. With a strong explosion, the flames illuminated half of the sky. Whoosh. Looking at the broken walls and the charred woman hanging onto wires, Luo Wen finally understood what the protagonist's halo was, and the deep meaning of knowledge is power. Hey, Luo, why are you here? With a bang, looking at the half of the refrigerator door that Tony had casually thrown away, there were some stains on his body after the battle and his hair was slightly burnt. At this time, he was full of joy of reunion, and it seemed that he had no serious injuries at all. Rowan also greeted them with a smile. Haha, Tony, it seems that you don't need help from others. Haha, I can only say that you are late this time. Whoosh, whoosh. Rowan and Tony on this side were still chatting, telling each other about their respective situations after they separated, and the steel base of the tall water tower not far away was actually melting. A bald man seemed to be burning himself, and with just his 2 hands, he burned the steel frame as thick as a child's waist red. With his strong pull, the water tower fixed on the tripod. Whoosh, creak. It hit the top of the 2 people's heads directly. Oh, Luo, run, they will kill us. Boom. Tony pushed Rowan aside, and Rowan wanted to pull him up, but was caught off guard and dodged by his action. Hundreds of tons of water towers, filled with domestic water. At this time, it was like a dam bursting, pouring out. Rowan exerted force on his feet and quickly ran to a safe area. Just as Rowan was waiting for the water to dissipate, the bald man grabbed the little boy hiding in the corner. It was this kid who had interfered with his shooting with snowballs before. Let me go, help, help. Haha, the big bald man imitated the voice of a child and walked towards Tony Stark who was stuck in the iron frame. You are so lucky that you were not crushed to death like this. Hiss, Hal. Although Tony Stark didn't say it, he was full of gratitude to the innocent people who helped him, and he didn't want them to be hurt because of himself. Especially after the incident with Ethan, he began to cherish the people around him more. Now Hal was held hostage, and his lower body was pressed by the iron frame. Fuck. By the way, Kit, what Christmas present do you want? Haha. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark. I'm so sorry. Woo woo. Oh, no. What he meant to say should be, I want that crappy document. The big bald guy was very complacent, thinking that he had control of the situation on the scene. As for the teammate, who was blown up into the sky. She will come down by herself soon. Huh. It's not your fault, Kit. Do you remember what I told you? What you should do if you are bullied? After trying for a long time, his ankle was stuck in the middle of the iron frame. Tony no longer cared about the pain in his body and only hoped that Hal still remembered the code he had told him. Bang. Huh. A black-haired young man wearing a coat on the upper body and shorts on the lower body suddenly appeared from behind like a ghost, snatched the little boy that the bald man was holding, turned around and kicked him, and actually kicked him directly into the wall 10 meters away. There was a sound of broken bones, and the bald man spat out blood, mixed with internal organs. Then he closed his eyes and tilted his head to one side. Was he killed with one blow? With his eyes wide open like bells, Tony Stark obviously did not expect that Rowan, who looked ordinary, actually had such amazing strength. He was much more ferocious than Fireman. Thank you, sir. The little boy was gently put on the ground. He kept thanking Rowan with fear and behaved very politely. Rowan walked in front of Tony and began to observe what he was stuck with. After confirming it, he lifted the hundreds of kilograms of deformed iron frame directly from his legs. Creak, creak. Tony, are you not going to come out? Oh, okay, I'll come out right away. Tony Stark had a lot of questions he wanted to ask the unfamiliar Asian youth, but who doesn't have his own little secrets? After a long pause, he was hesitant to speak. With such a big riot, the police and reporters would soon surround this place. Now was not the right time, so he had to give up. Phew. Fortunately, his foot was only stuck, and a little skin was scratched, but no bones were injured. After taking a deep look at the powerful Rowan, he walked to the side of the big bald man, and quickly found the car key he wanted in his shirt pocket. He had seen him get off the Audi before, so now he had a means of transportation. Looking at the collapsed chest of the bald man, Tony couldn't help but feel creepy. How much strength did Rowan use to kick? And the impact was so terrifying. Roy, I want to ask you to do me a favor, okay? Rowan looked at the timid little boy, probably because of fear and unfamiliarity, so he was just secretly looking at himself. And the purpose he wanted to achieve in advance was also affirmed with Tony Stark's sincere request. Of course, who makes us friends, right? Haha. The word friend made the two of them smile at each other. Although they had known each other for a short time and had not had much contact, they both understood what kind of person the other was, a person they could trust. Tony Stark wanted to complete the pursuit of the murderer behind the scenes, and when the battle suit was not fully charged, he wanted to find a reliable helper. Before, he was worried about Rowan's lack of ability and thought he was just an ordinary person. Now it seems that he also has something to hide, especially with this amazing physical fitness. It is obviously the most suitable choice. But, Rowan, did I remember it wrong before? I remembered that you were a little shorter than me, but now you are the same height as me, and your skin seems to have turned white. It was so dark before. You must have remembered it wrong. I have always been like this. Rowan found an excuse to evade Tony's doubts. As for the two firemen, Rowan knew that they could repair themselves automatically and did not really lose their lives. However, he couldn't bring himself to finish the job again. Besides, the two firemen would appear in the later plot. If he didn't have the plot to rely on, who knew how the changes in the future would catch him off guard? So Rowan just agreed to Tony Stark's request for help and didn't remind him that the fireman needed to be finished off. He said a lot and made a lot of mistakes. He had demonstrated his strength and won Tony's trust. He had already exceeded expectations. Why bother to add more trouble? However, it was really great to not be responsible for beating someone up. Beep beep. Fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars approached the street quickly with lights flashing. Bang, the car door opened, and Rowan sat on the passenger seat. Mr. Stark, is there anything else I can do? The little boy seemed to be very attached to Tony, and followed behind him pitifully, like a kitten that didn't want to be abandoned. There must have been a little episode between them, so Hal, who came from a single parent family, felt the long lost fatherly love and care from Tony, right? No, you just need to stay at home with your mother, take good care of my battlesuit, stay by the phone, and wait for my further instructions at any time. Zizzy boom, it is worthy of being a foreign model. The background is obviously 2012, and it is equipped with a large touchscreen and one button start. The seats are all leather and very comfortable to sit in. Luo Wen traveled from 2020, and the car configuration in his main world is probably at this level. Of course, it may also be because Luo Wen, a wage earner at the bottom of society, has never experienced what a real luxury car is. Chapter 10 Secret. Raon's origins are a mystery. Tony Stark, with the help of Jarvis, did not find any information about him yesterday. However, not all countries have entered a fully digital society like the United States. Faraway Asia has a large population and its technological level is not as good as that of the United States. The United States itself also has illegal residents whose databases are not updated in time, or who have no identity documents. Tony Stark had only been in contact with him for a few hours. When he talked and communicated with him, he could feel the sincerity of Raon, a nation youth. Although he didn't talk much, he didn't see that he made up lies or deliberately concealed signs of approaching him. At least at this stage, Raon is a trustworthy partner. Raon, we are going to another place now. The journey is long. You can rest first. Raon wanted to tell the considerate Tony that he came here after getting enough sleep. However, this obviously did not match the subsequent process he described, so he had to nod and show that he understood. Hoo-hoo, the scenery outside the window kept passing by quickly, and the car was warm like spring, very quiet and peaceful. Tony Stark usually likes to do things by himself. He is not someone who trusts others easily. It should be, because his personal ability is too good and there are few people who are like-minded with him. From his transformation into Iron Man, he has a strong sense of personal heroism. To his unruly and free-spirited behavior analysis, he is conceited, kind, and full of justice. However, Raon, who has a common experience, or treats Tony with sincerity, did not show his indifference to money, and told Tony faithfully that he liked the Mark 42 armor. In the case of repeated assistance, he only mentioned the obligation between friends, and never used this as a threat to actively make any requests. It seems that he has seen through Tony Stark's character and understood his temperament. He behaves appropriately and speaks in a concise and efficient manner. Life is limited, but friendship is priceless. And this is what Raon thinks is the most effective strategy and method to deal with Tony Stark. Boom hello, Rot, did Amra design your armor? Fuck, okay, I got it. I need your account password to log into the military's communication satellite. Ha, say it again, what's the password? Oh, haha, this sounds much better than Iron Patriot. Bang, Tony Stark finished reading the document records in his hand while driving. After making the call, the mystery in his mind gradually began to become clear, but he still needed to confirm more information. Squeak. The tires were rubbing against the ground and producing green smoke. After a sharp U-turn, Tony stepped on the accelerator pedal with confidence when he saw Raon, who was still looking down, as if he was asleep, and drove towards the city of Hamilton on the fork in the road. There happened to be a promotional advertisement for a beauty pageant here. Since there was a competition, reporters and interview cars must be indispensable. What he needed was to find a signal receiving terminal to access the information in the military database. Ahem. He would soon know what they were doing. Bang, the car door was closed. Tony Stark got out of the car quietly and even opened the window a little, fearing that Raon would fall asleep due to lack of oxygen. As his footsteps gradually faded away, Raon returned to normal from his posture of pretending to sleep with his head down, turned his head, and stretched his waist, moving his hands and feet. Raon, accompanied by Tony Stark and the Bulldoggy, was getting closer and closer to their real nest, and the outside world had fallen into a panic and tense atmosphere, because all the TV news signals in the United States were hacked, and broadcast in real time the hostage negotiation between the Mandarin and the president. A cold-blooded brutal terrorist with crazy religious beliefs openly hacked into TV signals and issued threatening remarks, then launched 3 bombings in succession, causing more than 30 civilian casualties. Of course, these were just official statements to the public. In fact, there were a total of 9 bombings, causing hundreds of casualties. In order to deal with the threat of terrorists, President Ellis approved an emergency research and development plan, allowing the Iron Patriot to undergo further transformation and upgrading, and the former war machine was also painted in the red, white, and blue Patriot colors. Bang, the erratic Mandarin shot and killed the hostage, even though the president called him for peace talks. The bombing attack is only the first step. Now it's the second step. I'll let you feel what it means to face death, but you're still at a loss. And I plan to complete the remaining step on Christmas Day. By then, all of you will realize how wonderful it is to have the breath of death hanging over your head. With a full beard, a braid on his head, and an elegant gold-edged robe, the Mandarin, with this meaningful outfit, invisibly enhanced the terrifying effect of his cold tone. President Ellis, run away, hide, and say goodbye to your children. Unfortunately, no one can save you. Your army and your ridiculous red, white, and blue beloved generals will be useless. See you later. Hiss. All the viewers in front of the TV felt a chill on their backs. Although the bloody and horrific scenes were restored to normal news and entertainment channels, the voice of the Mandarin was still surrounding their ears. It was so chilling, so mouth-drying. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't say anything. Only the fear in my heart became deeper and deeper, and more desperate. Click. In just half an hour, Tony returned to the car with a serious face. The anger in his eyes was so real. Tony, tell me, what do you want to do now? Rowan, this matter is probably far beyond my previous expectations. If you continue to go with me, you may lose your life. It was not until Rowan spoke that Tony Stark came back to his senses from those experimental videos. And for his courage and determination to move forward, Tony was moved and wanted to persuade him to leave. You said you would give me a battle suit after the crisis is resolved. If the situation is really dangerous, and if you die accidentally without my help, who can I ask for my battle suit? I understand. Luo, thank you. Zizzy boom. Tony Stark understood Rowan's determination to help him, and he didn't say anything more. After starting the car, they continued to set off. However, in Tony Stark's heart, he had directly upgraded partner to comrade in arms. All the questions and concerns about Rowan's origins were thrown aside. As long as Luo was sincere in helping him, he would use the best materials and the latest technology to make a new Mark armor. Jarvis, weapon system, high-level permissions, all of which he would find a way to arrange for him. What was Tony Stark thinking in his heart? Rowan couldn't read minds, but he could feel that his attitude towards him had changed subtly. At first, he was half believing and half doubting, and then he trusted when he just set out. Now he has let go of all his guard and felt a sense of true closeness. Can't you just maximum out his favorability by brushing it up? Luo, Before we reach our destination, I need to explain the intelligence I know to you in detail. You must be mentally prepared by then, and this time I have to go into battle unarmed myself. Their destination is Miami, Florida, because Jarvis has located the broadcast signal of the Mandarin in AIM's data stream. Obviously, AIM, as the upgrade and transformation contractor of Iron Patriot, is involved with the Mandarin behind the scenes. The desperate virus in the laboratory will cause a very terrifying explosion when repairing the severed limbs of veterans. No matter how you analyze it, the word conspiracy is an unavoidable topic. Chapter 11 Action. Out of trust in Rowan, of course, Tony saw him kick the bald man away with his own eyes. He not only explained the origin of the crisis to him on the way, but also the process, as well as the military information he had just seen in the interview car. There is a conspiracy behind AIM, and there is a black hand behind the scenes that has been manipulating all this. First, the Mandarin created a threat and panic, and then by transforming the Iron Patriot, he proved his technical strength and contacted the senior officials in the Pentagon. Behind the scenes, he even began to experiment with the extremis virus with veterans. Therefore, the first goal is to find the Mandarin and find evidence of his connection with AIM, and then inform the public of the key. As long as there is no support from the official background, Tony has the confidence to disintegrate this AIM and the purpose they want to achieve, even if it is only with his one-handed strength. It was already late. Tony Stark still took the wallet that the bald man had kindly left behind, went to the supermarket, to buy a lot of materials and tools, and found a motel room. Rowan witnessed with his own eyes how an inventor with strong hands-on ability and clear thinking made chemical bombs, quick acting in aesthetics, and high-voltage electric shock gloves in a simple environment. Although Rowan was also considered to be good at hands-on work, he could only watch and learn silently. Because of the different combinations and transformations of different materials, he had no idea where to start, especially without a standard operation manual. After spending several hours, Rowan tasted the authentic American food. The hamburger was bigger, the pizza was more mellow and sticky, and the Coke was also a super large cup. It was not very delicious, but the taste was not bad. The key was that the quantity was large and full, and it was very cheap. The two came out of the motel and continued their journey at night because Tony received more news from Jarvis. Bad news. First, Pepper and Maya were kidnapped in the hotel and their whereabouts were unknown. Only a waiter with a broken neck was left at the scene. Second, the Mandarin issued a latest notice saying that President Ellis would be publicly executed for killing an innocent American citizen, and the time would be tomorrow, Christmas. So even if Tony didn't get a good rest during the day, in fact, after separating from Rowan in the garage, he had been repairing his battlesuit and had not slept at all. His nerves were highly tense. Coupled with the anxiety he had always had, he often couldn't fall asleep for several days before. It was already 2 AM, and Tony didn't dare to delay at all. While still driving the car, he maintained remote communication with Jarvis in the hope of collecting more useful information. Tony, how about I drive instead? Driving doesn't seem very difficult, and with navigation, maybe you can take the opportunity to rest and take a breath. Rowan, okay. Tony, who was always used to doing things by himself, was indeed full of fatigue. It was just anxiety and tension that made him dare not stop. Rowan's sudden voice calmed him down. Yes, he was not the only one in this operation. There was also a strong helper. Before arriving in Miami, there was indeed a long way to go. He should relax and rest and adjust his state. Tony Stark believed that Rowan would not do this without a purpose. Since he asked for him to drive, he must have the confidence. As for the fact that Rowan seemed to have never driven a car and did not have a driver's license, Tony automatically ignored it. Driving in a straight line could not be harder than kicking a bald man to death. December 24th was the traditional Western holiday Christmas Eve, and it was also the third day since Rowan came to this world. Rowan was also used to the operation of the car. Under the warm sunlight, a gap opened to let the turbine air in the car become fresh. Tony Stark, who was sleeping in the passenger seat, seemed to relax his frowning brows. Whoosh, boom. Although Luo Wen has never passed the driving test, he used to drive motorcycles and tractors at home. The most basic operations and responses to sudden road conditions are no problem at all, not to mention that he now has an attributed 4-dimensional panel and his physical fitness has been enhanced. It is really too easy to follow the arrows on the navigation to maintain a speed of 120 km/h. By the way, the roads in America are really flat and straight. No wonder the lickers often say the chosen land, God bless America and so on. Luo, your physique is better than mine, but you have no experience in stealth combat. After I go in, you just wait outside to pick me up. Once the battle begins, you try to hide yourself. If I don't come out within an hour, the rest will depend on you to improvise. Tony Stark slept for a few hours. Although the quality of sleep was not very good, his red eyes were finally clearer, and his groggy head was refreshed. Now it was 3:45 in the afternoon, and they were in a grove outside a private villa in the suburbs of Miami. The sunlight passed through the leaves, leaving mottled light on the windshield, and there were very few vehicles and pedestrians passing by, which also spoke of the tranquility of this luxurious manor. Luo Wen explained that his physical fitness was about 10 times that of an ordinary person. As for the source of such a strong force, he said that he was not very clear. He suddenly appeared after falling into the sea while smuggling to the United States. It was not born that way. Moreover, Luo Wen just pushed the time forward by 1 month and told Tony directly that the magic kick last night was also due to the sneak attack. In fact, he did not have much combat experience. Don't worry, I know what to do. If you don't come out on time, I will be responsible for my life. Haha, Luo, I feel relieved that you can think like this. Wish me good luck. Click, open the car door. Tony crouched down, wearing a handicraft, turned back and made an OK to Luo Wen, accelerated, ran up, and then jumped up the more than 3-meter high wall, twisted his buttocks, and climbed up with both hands. They had conducted reconnaissance work on the tree before, and knew the weak points of the patrol security inside. Otherwise, they would not have parked the car here specifically. The posture was somewhat funny, and Rowan could not help but chuckle. After all, he was a middle-aged man in his 40s. If it were not for the blessing of a battlesuit, Tony Stark could be regarded as an ordinary person who had not gained weight. However, the smile on Rowan's mouth gradually disappeared. Tony Stark had already jumped down from the top of the wall, moving forward bravely, without fear of life or death. As a mere mortal body, he even fought against the god, and was evenly matched, and not at a disadvantage. Thinking of the later experiences and deeds of Iron Man, Rowan was no longer in the mood to laugh at him. It has nothing to do with race, country, or dimension. As a member of the same race as human, Rowan's heart is truly filled with admiration for the fearless spirit of Iron Man. In the face of any difficulties, he never gives up, never abandons, and just keeps moving forward, never retreating. No wonder the most beloved character in the entire Marvel universe is Tony Stark, a sharp-tongued unruly prodigal son who turns over a new leaf and attains enlightenment as a human hero. Iron Man. Chapter 12 Infiltration Failure. Rowan, I hope you really don't do anything stupid. Tony Stark ran carefully and quickly on the lawn full of fallen leaves, his eyes constantly scanning the surroundings. He was still a little worried about his new comrade. He helped regardless of size, all based on his sincerity. At least for him, Rowan's personality was very much to his liking. He was quiet, sincere, and always maintained an optimistic attitude. The longer he was in contact, the more Tony could find similarities between himself and Rowan. But besides being cautious and worried, he was thinking, if he really failed, would Rowan give up escaping, and find a way to rush in to save him? I'm afraid he would definitely do so. Lasso, pneumatic tranquilizer gun, high voltage electric shock gloves, handmade bombs. Tony Stark calmed down, and began to concentrate on the battle. The key was that he had no time to think about anything else. Thanks to the previous kidnapping experience, he lost his sense of security. He also figured out his life pursuit, fighting against evil, and maintaining human peace in the world. He improved and optimized the Mark armor, exercised, and learned hand-to-hand combat. I didn't expect that it would be useful so soon. Rowan's attributes that were strengthened 10 times were strength, speed, and physical strength, and his spirit was only improved 5 times. However, these combined together, the improvement of strength requires tough muscles and bones as a basis. The improvement of speed obviously refers to nerve reaction, not just his running speed from 5 meters per second to 50 meters per second. The sensory reflex nerves were strengthened, and vision, smell, hearing, taste, and touch were all improved. Physical strength is easy to understand, that is, taking in more food and converting more energy, which can be equated with endurance. Is it just spirit, intelligence, thinking reaction? Or improving the illusory sixth sense intuition? Even, it may be advanced to telepathy, telekinesis, and eternal consciousness? So now, Rowan is up and down in wonderful new feelings every moment. You can analyze the source of the smell, the surrounding environment, and whether it is usable. With a little focus, the birds flying across the sky, the flapping of wings, the contact of feathers and air, the spinning and flying of fallen leaves in the distance, and the clear veins and dust on them. This is probably the so-called dynamic vision. Bang, puff. The movement in the manner seems to be happening at a distance of about 220 to 250 meters, and Tony's footsteps seem to have walked into the room, stepping on the grass and marble, and the feedback is obviously different. At the same time, in Rowan's mind, there is a three-dimensional picture that is constantly being constructed and improved. Sound, smell, the layout memory seen by the telescope before, the two-dimensional plane figure, from lines to planes, and then to three-dimensional, began to have its own movement trajectory. Black and white turned into color, vivid and clear, magical and full of fresh feelings. Rowan is adapting to the different experiences brought by these changes, and is also gradually transforming these changes, bringing about the improvement and increase of abilities. An ordinary person can achieve this. I don't know if he is adaptable or performs too poorly. It's over. It's over. In the bedroom of the luxurious villa, Tony Stark found the person he wanted to find. He was wretched, timid, and performed mediocrely. There were also two women lying on the bed. How could this guy, who looked like a lecherous old man, be the Mandarin? Don't move. Tony Stark was stunned. He held the gun he picked up from the security guard in one hand and searched around the room with concern. I didn't move. Take whatever you want. But these guns are fake, because those bitches don't believe me and won't give me the real ones. With a bun, a long beard down to his chest, and a face full of alcohol, this Mandarin is more indulgent than Tony, at least two at a time. Tony himself has never tried this. What? After confirming that there was no hidden danger in the room, and the woman in a bikini lying on the bed was not a criminal, Tony was also confused by this Mandarin's poor performance. Oh, by the way, which of these two girls do you like? Haha, or both. Please feel free to do as you like. The wretched old man, with a face full of flattery, did not care about his terrifying image of Mandarin. Enough. You are not him. Where is the Mandarin? Where is he? Tony Stark, who had experienced hardships and life and death tests, pulled the slide to reload the pistol. His tone was full of anger and impatience. Oh, he is here. Here, but not here. He is here, and not here. Plop. Facing the murderous Tony Stark, Mandarin was forced to retreat and sit on the sofa, and even said a confusing doggerel. Unfortunately, the atmosphere at the scene was very serious, and no one could laugh. Ladies, please go out first. Go to the bathroom. Don't come out. This is none of your business. I don't want to hurt you. The two panicked women got off the bed, raised their hands, and ran to the side barefoot. Click. The door of the room was locked, and the Mandarin lying on the ground pretended to be a coward, trying to sneak away quietly. Bang. Oh, I surrender. I surrender. A gunshot stunned the old man and made him sit back on the sofa immediately. The gunshot also made the woman scream uncontrollably and even spread to the underground space. My name is Trev Slattery. Who are you, bait? Or are you just a stand-in? No. You are talking about an understudy, not me. The Mandarin is the leading actor, and I'm the protagonist. What? Trevor Slattery is a professional actor. Following the script given by someone, he honestly played the role of the Mandarin, a role that is very easy to be associated with terrorists. Although he did not intend to do bad things, he had to take the job here and became the Mandarin that everyone fears because of his own troubles, drug abuse, old age but young heart, lust for beauty, and enjoyment of extravagant life, all of which require US dollars. Trevor told Tony everything that should and should not be said, and also expressed his admiration for Iron Man, exchanged acting experiences, and served him ice cold beer. Until he turned his head again, a bald head appeared. Trevor wanted to signal Tony to be careful with his eyes, but unfortunately, he was just an actor, an old man whose fate was controlled by others. He could only watch as the bald head knocked Iron Man unconscious with the butt of a gun. Plop. Okay, Trevor, what did you say to him? Oh, I didn't tell him anything. Didn't you say anything? Yes, nothing. Haha. Then you must have been scared, right? I was scared, but then I handled it well. I'm just waiting for you to come and save me. Puff. Gulp. He opened the beer naturally and drank a big mouthful. His heart was thumping. The old actor Trev really had good acting skills. The bald guy was fooled by him. Rowan could hear that Tony Stark's breathing slowed down, and his heartbeat too. He guessed another familiar footsteps. It should be the big bald guy who came back from the dead. He and Tony drove all the way here honestly. Who knows if these two firemen got here first by plane. The manor is very large. There is not only a main building in the middle, but also other small houses around it, and even a wider space underground. At this time, Rowan had to get out of the car. He heard that Tony's infiltration had failed. Now he could only rely on him to rescue Tony. Chapter 13 Rescue. Rowan found that he could see at night. As long as there was a little bit of weak light, even moonlight, he could clearly see the effect of ordinary people seeing the scenery during the day. It was not infrared perspective, nor thermal induction, but only night vision. He originally wanted to wait until dark, and then climb over the wall to carry out a sneak attack. As a result, Tony was knocked down, and then there was a roar in the sky. A double helix helicopter quickly landed in the manor. There were not only the footsteps of dozens of militants, but also the sound of a particularly heavy cargo being moved. Could that be the Iron Patriot? Rowan only remembered a few key notes about the plot. The time and details were a bit vague. Now that I think about it, Tony's escape from the Mark 42 Prodigal Son did not seem to happen at night. Yes, he and Hal had already solved the problem of charging the suits on the road. They only needed to wait for 100% to be filled, and they could fly from Tennessee to Florida. I can do it. I can do it. Luo Wen doesn't know combat skills. In fact, he doesn't think it's very important. Combat skills are for two people with similar physical fitness, and they can determine who wins and who loses. With his current strength, he can easily lift objects weighing thousands of kilograms over his head, and his reaction speed is 10 times that of ordinary people. With the blessing of dynamic vision, the body may not be able to withstand bullets, and Luo Wen doesn't want to test the law with his own body. However, before others shoot, predict the shooting angle and then dodge. This is obviously something that can be implemented. Just try not to be surrounded by the bullet storm. Overcoming the psychological barrier of killing, knowing that the big bald head is a fireman and can't be killed by a kick. Just use it to sharpen the blade for training. Knowing his own strength and verifying the improvement brought by the attributes, Luo Wen's current self-confidence is really too explosive. The desperate virus can only repair damaged tissues in the human body, and the limbs are the best effect, and it strengthens some physical qualities, such as greater strength and harder bones. Perhaps it can't be called strengthening, it is more appropriate to say repairing. The human body is a very sophisticated instrument. Every time you punch, or run at full speed, the brain will reserve margin to prevent your body from being hurt by yourself. For example, pain and mental fatigue are the brain's instinctive reactions to protect the body. However, when the fireman is injected with the desperate virus, as long as the key organs are not pierced and damaged, such as the brain being broken into pieces and the heart being melted, the desperate virus will no longer be able to continue to work. In other words, the fatal weaknesses of the fireman are only the brain and the heart. Then their physical potential can be fully released. Each of them is like a special forces king. I don't know if their IQ has increased, but their physical fitness has definitely improved. Moreover, only when more than 50% of the body is damaged will the desperate virus become ineffective. The above is just the result that Luo Wen speculated, based on the performance of the plot. As for whether it is true and reliable, find an opportunity to try it, and you will know soon. Whoosh, Luo Wen changed into long pants, a woolen sweater and a hooded sweater. After all, he was driving a luxury car, so it shouldn't be too much to buy a few clothes by the way. After all, they were all the legacy of the big bald man. His breathing slowed down, and his mind began to maintain a high degree of concentration. Luo Wen took off lightly, and stepped over the more than 3-meter high wall. He was as light as a swallow, and a constant stream of power surged from his body. Whoosh, he squatted slightly, taking advantage of the momentum to offset the impact of landing, trying not to make too much noise. Fortunately, the set of movements was very coherent and successful. It seems that after a day and a night of adaptation, Luo Wen has a deeper understanding and control of his abilities. The lawn, the flower bed, and the strong man in a suit, who was dealing with the corpse in the distance. Like a swift and silent cheetah, Luo Wen's gradually plump muscle lines made his body as graceful as a cheetah hunting, even faster and lighter. Swish, 3 or 5 people moved quickly. Luo Wen was like a knight in the ancient world, quickly avoiding everyone's sight, and came to the building next to the dungeon in trance. There were 2 strong men with guns guarding the door, and there was no sign of other people's activities in the house. Hey, window? If you want to go in unnoticed, you must have a strong physique like Luo Wen. He jumped on the spot and gently hooked his hands on the windowsill 2 meters above his head. The open sliding window is just enough for a not so strong person to pass through, such as Luo Wen, who was doing this. Bang. A woman with long wavy flaxen hair was shot down to the ground, and the toxin injection in her hand fell to the side. Oh, no, you are a lunatic. Tony Stark's hands were tied to an iron frame, and his feet could not reach the ground. Without any leverage, he was now a lamb to be slaughtered. Seeing Killian in front of him shooting Maya to death, he suddenly felt lonely and sad. After all, she had a conflict with Killian in order to save herself. White suit, blonde slicked back hair, and bulging muscle lines, coupled with tough features and a charming and calm smile. This man was the drive Killian who was stood up by Tony 13 years ago. However, compared to 13 years ago, he was lame, haggard, and a complete loser. Looking at him now, there is no doubt that he is a world of difference. Haha, you can call me a dreamer, but I do have a madman among my men. Let's see his performance tonight. Bang, bang. Killian did not stay at the scene any longer. He walked up the iron stairs and left the laboratory along the long underground passage. Boss, as long as the Iron Patriot boarded the plane, I only need 9 to 10 minutes to deal with all the armed forces. Ta-ta. Oh, that's great, but the last time I saw it, there seemed to be someone inside. Brown hid his body, and the porch behind him was a little dark and not so easy to be discovered. He listened to the conversation between the two men at the corner and quietly stuck his head out. Just in time, he saw a man in a suit and a big bald head turning into another passage. This is not a basement at all. It's completely an underground air raid shelter. From the crisscrossing passages, different rooms of different sizes were separated. Some of them were empty, and the doors were rusty and couldn't be opened. And some were foreigners wearing white coats, who looked like experimenters, busy on the operating table and computer. The orange medicine in those incubators. Could it be the extremis virus? But compared to these extremis viruses that can be taken back at any time, it is better to find Tony himself as soon as possible. I hope the gunshot just now didn't hit his chest. Chapter 14 changes. With his eyes on all sides and ears on all sides, compared to the relaxation and calmness on the ground, Luo Wen was undoubtedly much more cautious and careful in the relatively closed and narrow underground. If he was blocked here, especially by those black-clad strong men holding automatic rifles, Luo Wen really had no confidence to guarantee that he would not be injured. Every step forward, he had to calculate the retreat and evasion routes, as well as the space for his own evasion. Luo Wen would continue to move forward lightly, sticking closely to the dark walls, avoiding those rotating electronic cameras, quietly and ready to go. Beep, beep, beep. Tony Stark was in a temporary prison, and two men in suits were watching over him. A man with a crew cut was playing with a red plastic watch, and it was obvious that it was a style that only little girls liked. It was not known whether it touched something or the alarm clock on it, but it suddenly rang without any warning. Hey, be careful, it's a limited edition. The alarm on the watch was set by Tony himself. When it rang, it meant that the prodigal son should have almost charged his battery, or maybe he was on his way. Tony's mood, which had just been quiet, immediately became active. I don't know what's going on with Luo outside. Haha, the two strong men showed disdain for Tony's words. By the way, how far is Tennessee from Miami? Beep, beep, 832 miles. The long-haired man had a braided hair. He answered Tony's question without hesitation. The short-haired man showed an inexplicable admiration for him. Haha, I'm good at this. Can you turn off that thing? I think it's a bit noisy. With a click, the short-haired man threw his watch on the ground and raised his right foot. Hey, you have to pay for it if you break it. This is Hal's sister's favorite thing. Tony didn't want to owe that little brat. Swish, a black shadow suddenly rushed out from the passage on the second floor platform. Tony saw this ghostly figure and couldn't help but smile knowingly. Luo, you are here after all? Bang, snap, a straight punch, followed by a whip kick. No fancy moves, just enough power and accurate target. Creak, snap. The short-haired man and the long-haired man didn't have time to pull out the guns on their waists. One was hit in the face. His nose was sunken directly, not crooked or broken. His skull shattered without a sound, and he fell to the ground and died. The taller and more robust long-haired man was hit in the chest by a huge force. Puff. His heart was smashed into pieces, and a row of ribs were broken. Bang. His body slid along the ground like a rag bag, until his back hit the load-bearing concrete column. He groaned, his head tilted, and died on the spot. Oh, Luo, I knew that as a friend, you would not abandon me. Haha, click, click, industrial cable ties, for Luo Wen. As long as he pinches it from the root, he can easily remove the tightly bitten teeth. Compared with violently tearing the cable tie, this method is of course safer, and it will not hurt Tony, and even less hurt himself. It seems that your battle suit is not very punctual. Haha, Luo Wen picked up the cartoon watch on the ground, and gave it back to Tony, and he took it with a nonchalant smile, wiped off the dust on his body, and then put it on his wrist very seriously. Luckily you came in time, or Hal would definitely blame me. Ding, bang. Tony Stark and Rowan were picking up equipment on the ground, and when Rowan inadvertently opened a silver briefcase on the operating table, the 2 orange potions inside were neatly placed in the sponge card slot. Ding. The extremis virus has been confirmed. Please transfer the host to the storage space to submit the task. Huh. The window exposed on the ground suddenly broke, and an arm part with flames at the tail flew in. Beep. Snap. While Tony Stark was looking forward to the suit parts behind, Rowan waved his hand, and the 2 bottles of extremis virus disappeared in the briefcase. 832 miles, converted to more than 1,300 kilometers, and the maximum speed of the Mark armor exceeded Mach 10. It seemed to have taken only about 5 minutes to fly here from Tennessee, thousands of miles away. Oh, little guy, you're finally here, but it's not too late. By the way, where are the other parts? He stroked his right hand, as if he was stroking his beloved lover. Anyway, Rowan couldn't do such an intimate and goosebump-inducing action. Whoosh, beep, snap, snap. When Tony Stark was wandering, his left foot also flew in. Because of the sensors implanted in the body, even without the help of the headset and Jarvis, the modularly designed protagonists can still be accurately loaded in the corresponding position of Tony's body. Although they did not appear together, the current situation is not as critical as in the original plot. After waiting for a while, Hal should have opened the garage door in Tennessee. The remaining parts, as well as the intelligent module arranged in the helmet, were successfully loaded on Tony Stark, making him finally become a complete Iron Man. Rowan, we should go out and have a good chat with our old friend Killian now. When Tony put on the Iron Man mask, he was no longer a fragile ordinary person. Just like now, the tone of his speech began to become confident and calm. Of course, now is a good time for me to see your battle suit and see how strong it is. Wow. Clatter. A series of footsteps sounded in the passage. Beep beep. Attention all units. Stark has escaped. Please go to support quickly. Is it because the defense system detected the appearance of the Mark armor, and the 2 guards did not reply with the intercom? Since Tony's darkest and difficult period has passed, and he has obtained the extremis virus, Rowan will naturally not let himself charge in the front. Tony Stark was also very grateful to Rowan for not giving up and rescuing him. At this time, with his battle suit on, he could not let Rowan, who had helped him a lot, be trapped in the danger of gunfire and rain of bullets. Rowan, protect yourself. I'll go first. Beep, bang, da-da-da, rumble, waves of iron cannon charging sounds, and the roar of indiscriminate bombings. Rowan walked leisurely, and walked to the ground easily among the broken walls and ruins. He did not have many serious physiological reactions to the bloody corpses he saw on the road. Seeing the watches on their hands and the wallets on their bodies, the storage space was much emptier anyway. Rowan did not dislike them at all. Just like clicking bags, he collected them all. In the main world, Rowan is a poor loser. These good things may not be very valuable, but on mosquito legs meat. Find a chance to go to the pawn shop to deal with them, and exchange them for gold to take back. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15. Something bad happens. Boom whoosh. The people imprisoned in the dungeon were not only Tony Stark, but also Colonel Rhodes, whose Iron Patriot was stolen. While the guards were attracted by Tony, Rhodes, who had strong military qualities, also took down the guards guarding him and escaped from the dungeon to the ground. As a result, when he looked up, he was shocked, because the Iron Patriot and an armed helicopter carrying terrorists had gradually flown away from his sight. And their target was obviously obvious. They must be heading for President Ellis on Air Force One. Hey, Rod, what's wrong? Tony Stark, who fought his way to the ground, still saw the gradually moving away Iron Patriot and Killian in the helicopter. Puff puff, the iron engine sprayed twice, but there was no intention of taking off except for black smoke. It was obvious that the full power battle just now had once again exhausted the energy in the energy storage device. The hole in his chest could not be completely repaired due to insufficient materials, and this happened to be the key part connected to the arc reactor in his chest. Click, click, the clumsy big iron can, like a baby who had just learned to walk, stumbled and was about to go to other rooms to see if he could find an energy battery or a small generator. Unexpectedly, Rhodes' phone call came into Tony's communication band at this time. Hey, Tony, hurry up. My battle suit was taken away by Killian. Their target is the president. We must take action as soon as possible. Oh, okay, I know. You come to the main house now. I'll take you to see someone. When Rowan came out of the underground and found the main house in the middle, the door was wide open, and the side window was also smashed to pieces, with glass fragments all over the floor. Tony, what's your look? Huh? Swish, a thin and tall black man quickly pointed the gun in his hand at Rowan, who suddenly walked in. Rhodes obviously didn't know this Asian youth with black hair and yellow skin. He just thought he was also Killian's men. And Tony, who was holding a large battery in his hand and 2 wires inserted into the chest of the armor, also hurriedly walked over from the bearded Mandarin. Oh, Rhodes, don't shoot. He is my friend. One of us. Ah. Haha, let me introduce you. Rowan. He is my old friend Rod, a colonel in the military. This is Rowan, a good friend I just met in Tennessee. If it weren't for him, I would have encountered more troubles along the way. Oh. Facing the tough Colonel Rod, Rowan did have a moment just now when his body was like a hedgehog with thorns exploded. He was highly focused and ready to dodge his bullets at any time. Fortunately, Tony helped him out. After introducing each other, Rod's face was serious and nervous, and he barely squeezed out a kind smile at this time. Oh, Luo, I'm really sorry. Did I not scare you just now? A friend of a friend is his friend. Although Rod doubted the identity of this strange young man, Tony proved it for him, so he couldn't say anything. The top priority now is to rush to Washington to resolve Killian's fatal threat to President Ellis. Other things, of course, will be studied in detail later. Nice to meet you, Colonel Rhodes. You are really alert. Haha. Rowan didn't have a bad temper, and Rhodes had already apologized for pointing a gun at him. He couldn't just keep pestering Tony's good friend, right? Rowan had a very mild temper, whether in his own world or in the impression he left on Tony. Seeing that the two had resolved the misunderstanding, Tony walked back to the Mandarin. Trev, you just said you have a yacht, right? And you also know the secret place where Pepper is imprisoned? Yes, as long as you don't hurt me, I can tell you. Gurgle. The more tense the atmosphere, the calmer he became. He took a big sip of beer and began to strive for a chance to reform himself. Of course, as long as the information you tell us is accurate, I will personally apply for a pardon from the president. The friendship between Rhodes and Tony is very deep. Faced with the two different choices of the president and Pepper, he stood firmly on Tony Stark's side. Of course, it is also possible that he himself is very clear. In Tony's heart, Pepper is his first priority. Without armor, Rhodes can only choose to believe in Tony's judgment. Swish, boom, the waves are surging, leaving a long white wake on the clean blue sea. The luxury yacht painted in blue is quickly traveling on the vast sea. While Colonel Rhodes is driving the yacht, and Tony walked into the sunken cabin because he said that he needed a quiet environment to concentrate on remotely controlling the Wanderer. It was because Tony promised to save the president that Rhodes drove the boat honestly and drove towards the port. According to the information provided by Trev, Pepper was detained in the port where the Northern International freighter was docked, and there was another very important experimental base of Ahem. Whoosh, the cold sea breeze blew on Rowan's face, but he still stood firmly on the side of the boat, with a face full of excitement and excitement. This was his first time to see the sea, and it was also his first time to ride a luxury yacht. It was so cool to ride the wind and waves on the sea and enjoy the experience of chasing the wind and waves. Seasick? How could a young man who grew up in Lake City and was a little white fish in the waves get seasick? Whoosh, click, the yacht has docked at the shore, and not far ahead is their destination. The huge Northern is quietly parked in the port, but the security guards patrolling with guns may be mercenaries recruited by Killian. The other side has at least dozens of armed guards, and there are only 3 people on his side. Only half of the sunset is still above the sea level. They just have to wait for the sky to completely darken. They have to sneak in quietly under the cover of night. Rode ignored Rowan, who was standing on the side of the ship to watch the scenery. He still had doubts about Tony's words. After all, he hadn't seen it with his own eyes. He could kill 2 gun-wielding strong men with 1 punch and 1 kick, and before they could react. How could there be such a terrifying human being? Did he think this guy was another Captain America? Tony, how is it? Do you have any good news to tell me? Tony in the cabin was also breathing heavily at this time. He took off the holographic projection device on his head. This can also be called the first generation of remote control module. Without Tony's active intervention, Jarvis could not fully exert the full strength of the battlesuit. After all, it is currently only a weak artificial intelligence in the juvenile stage, and many permissions are still being modified and added. Jarvis usually only exists as an auxiliary helper in Tony's work. In the battle, if Tony does not give orders, Jarvis will even appear very clumsy and does not know how to adapt. However, for information collection, data analysis, and calculation of various complex models, these are areas where Jarvis is very good. Well, the good news is that everyone was rescued, but the bad news is that the president has been captured by Killian. What? What should we do now? You can't save the president or Pepper dressed like this. Huh. Rhodes turned around helplessly to count the guns and ammunition, while Tony Stark turned his head silently, regretting that he wore the prodigal to escape. Many functions were still in the experimental stage. Now he has only completed an air rescue, but he was hit by a truck and turned into parts. Sure enough, the modular design is not stable and strong enough in terms of its inherent structure. Jarvis, is it time? Sir, do you mean the family reunion plan? Yes, activate all the suits. The entrance to the passage has been preliminarily cleaned, and the remote activation procedure is now in progress. Wait. Chapter 16 I only know how to attack by surprise. Luo, it's still the same old rules. You stay on the periphery to protect our retreat route. As soon as we rescue Pepper, you take her away immediately. The rest will be left to me and Rhodes. The vice president has obviously reached a secret cooperation with Killian. He will definitely prevent the official rescue force from being sent to support us. From the time we made the call to now, Air Force One was attacked, and the president was captured. It couldn't be more obvious. Alas, click, click. Tony Stark shrugged his shoulders and said he didn't comment on Rhodes' complaints and helplessness. Anyway, he never really believed in those empty-headed politicians. He just kept disassembling the pistol, trying to find a familiar feel. He didn't forget to instruct Rowan and arrange his tasks. He has excellent physical fitness and a strong learning ability, but his foundation is too poor and his scientific knowledge is not very clear. He learned to drive on the spot and said that he had never touched a firearm. However, as a trump card support force, he can be regarded as an extremely suitable object. After repeated sneak attacks from behind, Tony also felt that he and Rhodes would launch offensives to attract firepower, and Rowan should be very good at this. Okay, Rhodes, don't count on other people to support us anymore. It's too late. Look, isn't the person imprisoned in the Iron Patriot our president? Hey, many searchlights lit up in the dark port, and in midair, the steel cable was gradually straightened and fixed. Isn't the one in the middle tied with a metal man? Okay, action. Rhodes looked back at Rowan standing in the yacht's driving position with complicated eyes. He was still a little skeptical. He just simply explained it again. Did he really learn how to drive a yacht? Tony was extremely relieved to leave his back to Rowan. He held the pistol in both hands and carefully jumped off the side of the ship. He sneaked behind a container from a staircase on the pier that was specially used for small ships to go up and down. "Hey, Rod, come on." Rowan gave Rod a quiet smile and returned to comfort him. Only then did he lower the muzzle of his gun and followed silently under Tony's whispered urging. Once Tony Stark has identified a person as his friend, he is even more careful than his bed partner. It seems that, even if it is changed to the real world, his personality is still exactly the same as set in the plot. With a splash, Rowan turned off all the lights on the yacht that rose and fell with the sea, but the yacht was still powered on and could be started at any time. While familiarizing himself with the various buttons and equipment on it, it was strange. Although his memory was not bad, how could it be so clear and correct in his mind when Rod only told him once? Power, coolant, oil gauge, operating handle. Damn, I have a good memory, right? Colonel Rhodes, a military elite with excellent combat qualities, took off his battle suit like an Iron Man with invincible courage and quietly walked into the port dispatch room. As for President Ellis, who was hung in the air on the gantry for public display, the two of them could do nothing about it, because, bang, someone's invading. Tony's unprofessionalism soon exposed Rhodes and his own position. Whoosh, searchlights began to converge towards their positions. The patrolling armed guards opened fire one after another and continued to surround them. Bang, bang, bang. Oh, Tony, please don't waste bullets. What are you doing? Didn't I want to shoot down the searchlight? You shot at the light, not the searchlight. Who said I was aiming at that? No matter how thick-skinned Tony was, he felt guilty and embarrassed at this time. Click, click. After a magazine of bullets was fired, the pistol in Tony's hand now only had the empty sound of the hammer. Alas, bang, bang. Rhodes admired his old friend Tony in every aspect, but he was really bad at ordinary people's gun operation. He stood up quickly, plus a burst of double shots. The searchlight pointed at them went out instantly, and the guard operating the searchlight was also shot down. In one word, well done. Rod, give me the magazine. Quickly, they are all coming over. Huh. Not universal, Tony. No, 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 I know what I'm doing. Give me one quickly. I don't have anything suitable for you here. You have 5. Okay. I only need 1. Hurry up, Rod. Your gun and my gun have different bullet calibers, and the magazines are not universal. Okay. Ahem. I'll scout. You shoot. Ta-ta. Ta-ta. The two people here are still discussing tactics, and the next moment, dozens of armed guards have surrounded them. More importantly, there are more than a dozen of them, and their skin flashes with strange fiery red light from time to time. Obviously, they are the same as the bald man killed by Tony on the plane. All of them are firemen transformed by Killian. Oh, I miss my battle suit so much now. That's right, and we need support now. Huh. Rhodes' face was tense, and then gradually turned into determination. Tony, on the other hand, was calm and confident, even though he had nothing in his hands. It was as if the current crisis had no effect on him at all. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom. A bright little light spot was particularly conspicuous in the night sky. The next second, a line of mark armor appeared in front of the man. The feet and hands sprayed dazzling and strong iron beams. Maintaining the same height, they surrounded all the armed guards in a blink of an eye. You didn't make all of these? Rhodes was dazzled. The Iron Patriot, which was upgraded from Mark II, was already an important military weapon for the entire military. What was the result? Tony made so many of them quietly, and it was not just a production line. The shape and size of each steel suit seemed to be different. Obviously, Tony optimized and modified them for different scenes and uses. Haha, Merry Christmas, man. The armed element present, facing the sky full of iron suits, naturally would not aim their guns at the insignificant Rhodes and Tony Stark, but everyone was in danger, and aimed their guns at the Iron Men in the air. Jarvis, use the thermal energy signal to locate the extremis virus and kill them. Yes, sir. What are you waiting for? Christmas is here. Send them to heaven. Whoosh, whoosh, biu, biu, boom, boom, da da da. Ah. The scene was suddenly filled with flames, gunshots, and iron cannons. Without Tony Stark's personal control, some engineering armor that was not designed for combat was quickly dismantled into parts by the fireman who was on fire. However, robots have no sense of pain. Even if only a remnant is left, it will choose to perish with the enemy. Beep. Boom. The burning fireworks lit up the dark port, and Tony and Rhodes, who were ignored by everyone, took action separately, one to rescue his beloved partner, and the other to find a way to rescue President Ellis. Chapter 17 Malay. It was the first time that Luo Wen was so close to the luxurious fireworks. Even during the Chinese New Year, his family never set off fireworks. He just watched other people in the village, who were well off, set off fireworks. Not to mention, these iron suits were in short supply and regarded as a serious threat by the US military. The cost alone was at least no less than $100 million. Not to mention artificial assisted intelligence and various personal scientific and technological achievements that belonged to Tony Stark. In this world, only Tony Stark could use the Mark armor to set off fireworks so arrogantly. The engineering mecha, which was more than 3 meters tall, actually held up the tilted gantry steel frame alone. The fast-flying supersonic mecha, Luo Wen's dynamic vision could only reach the level of ordinary people. The black-painted humanoid mecha flashed by, and the specific details could not be seen clearly. Ordinary people might not even be able to see its shadow clearly. Red, gold, silver, black, and mixed styles. Luo Wen made a simple count and found that there were 35 sets of armor in total. If the prodigal son who had not arrived yet was included, there should be 36 sets. The Iron Man armors of different styles and unknown specific functions looked at them, and the saliva at the corners of his mouth almost dripped down uncontrollably. Not to mention that his whole body was boiling with blood and his heart was beating wildly. If one day in the future, he could also sit firmly on the world's rich list like Tony Stark, and have unlimited money and resources to complete all his ideas about future technology, artificial intelligence, iron armor, and change the technological level of the entire blue planet, what a great cause that is desirable and worthy of cheers and encouragement. Boom, creak, creak, the explosions continued, beep, beep, The battle in the port was very fierce, and a crane suddenly started up, and there seemed to be a petite figure pressed by the shelf on it. Of course, this petite is relative to the foreigners in the battle. If he stood with Luo Wen, he might not think that she would be more delicate than himself. Dozens of meters in the air, a middle-aged man ran out of the dispatch room and stretched out his hand to pull the woman with long hair back, but the distance was always a little short. Pepper, I can catch you. Relax, I can catch you. Half of the body was clamped by the deformed steel beam, and it is estimated that the leg bone has been broken. But the skin wearing only a sports bra was red again, because the sweat beads seeped out of fear and tension were directly evaporated into water vapor. Oh, by the way, she should be in the desperate virus fusion adaptation period now. Creak, bang, baby, I can't get through. You can't stay there. You have to let go, okay? The crane arm tilted and swayed, and the situation seemed to become more critical. Let go, quickly. I promise I can catch you. Tony's eyes were full of pity and determination, and for Pepper Potts, who was hanging upside down in the air, this was one of the few times she saw Tony so affectionate and worried. Bang, just when she let go and chose to believe in Tony, the steel cable of the crane arm broke, and Pepper Potts touched her fingertips under the bloodshot gaze of Tony, and then fell into the sea of fire dozens of meters below. Tony. No. Swish, a black shadow, as if it had escaped the influence of gravity, quickly jumped off the container. I was watching the show well, and suddenly remembered this part of Run. Hoo-hoo, adjust your breathing. The figure of the blonde woman falling from the sky began to become clear. In the hot air, her whole body was red. A few hot tears fell from the corners of her eyes, and she stared blankly at the top. Swish. With a run up, the flames that rose several meters in an instant burned Luo Wen's clothes and pants out of shape, hiss baring his teeth, enduring the burning of the skin by the high temperature. Bang, crunch, soft and fragrant in my arms. How could it be possible? Who said this? Luo Wen promised not to beat him to death. A faint smell of sweat mixed with the smell of women's perfume, like a stone pillar. It fell to the ground with Luo Wen. The bones in both arms creaked, and Luo Wen was almost knocked unconscious. Plop. Hoo-hoo. Rowan, who was gasping for breath, dangerously brought Tony's girlfriend to the side of the sea of fire. Cold sweat kept coming out of his forehead. Facing the blonde woman who was looking at him with fear and surprise, Rowan forced himself to give her a difficult smile. "Hello, I'm Rowan, Tony's friend." "Oh, yeah, Rowan, well done, Pepper. You follow him, and leave here first, and I'll come to you after I deal with Killian." Haha. Tony Stark, who was extremely sad a second ago, saw Rowan perform a miracle again, and save his beloved girl at the critical moment, and couldn't help cheering loudly. "Oh, thank you so much, Luo. The fire under Pepper's skin became more and more obvious. Rowan could not stand the high temperature from her body, and gently put her on a clean ground that was not affected by the battle. "It's so hot, so hot." With Rowan's own eyes, the woman who had just been limp with her legs drooping, was on fire. The sports bra that protected her privacy was probably made of high temperature resistant material that Killian had specially replaced for Pepper. It was still intact, even when the temperature exceeded hundreds of degrees Celsius. The injured part began to shed its skin, and the toes on the two bare soles began to curl up. Not only did she regain consciousness, but she also seemed to be enduring great pain. "Hey, Kit, where did you come from?" Another bald man with a fiery red body, at least a head taller than the one that Rowan kicked away the first time. His waist was half a circle thicker. The clothes on the upper body had been torn into pieces by himself, and it was not known whether it was because of the high temperature that burned his head. The whole person seemed to be in a state of bloodthirsty madness. Bang, bang, bang. The wide soles of the feet, coupled with a height of nearly 2 meters, actually made a rumbling sound when running over. This guy's not a human at all. It's a humanoid Tyrannosaurus. The man didn't have any weapons in his hands, but looking at the mark armor behind him, that was torn into 2 halves, it didn't even have time to self-destruct. You can imagine how terrifying this guy is. Pepper behind him was still on the ground, enduring the repair of the virus. Rowan had no choice but to face the enemy face to face. If he retreated, Pepper Potts on the ground would most likely be trampled to death by this guy. Rowan didn't dare to use his bare hands to carry the burning woman away. Now it seemed that he had no choice but to fight bravely. Wow. Close combat. Luo Wen can't stand the high temperature of the fireman. It can't be called hurting the enemy 1,000 and hurting yourself 800. It should be called hurting yourself 1,000 and hurting the enemy 800. Luo Wen faced the bull's charge. His eyes swept the surrounding environment. When he was 5 meters away from him, he rolled over and took the steel bar as thick as his arm in his hand. "Don't run." Bang. The opponent with thin arms and legs, who looked like a small bean sprout, suddenly picked up a 3-meter long steel bar and whipped it towards him. The strong man looked disdainful with his body size. How big could he be? Bang. Crack. Rotating on the spot, using the inertia of the steel bar's own weight, and then using his own feet as the axis, Luo Wen gathered all the strength of his body to the front end of the steel bar and hit the strong man's chest hard with a stick, and then it actually cracked. The strong man's upper body was directly divided into 2 halves with the chest as the boundary. Gurgle gurgle. You. Plop. Ha ha. The sea breeze blew, and there was no blood in the body of the fireman. At this time, the body was broken into 2 pieces, especially the heart was beaten into debris. A black carbonized corpse appeared in front of Rowan. Rowan held a steel rod and stood beside Pepper to ensure her safety. The situation on the battlefield changed rapidly. All the Luo were either blown into meat by the mark armor or blown up to the sky. Rhodes rescued the president, then equipped the Iron Patriot and joined the battle. Tony was in a good mood and performed at a super level, facing the ultimate boss Dr. Killian, after being destroyed by him for 3 sets of battle suits in succession. Beep, beep, click, click. Jarvis, help me blow up Mark 42. No. Finally, using the prodigal who came back, he gave him a steel-clad fireman bomb. Bang. Chapter 18 ending. Bang. Creak. Ding. Ding. Oh. Oh. Whoosh. Boom. Tony Stark, wearing tattered copper and iron, fell from the gantry of dozens of meters. Fortunately, although only one arm and one leg were left of his battlesuit, he still relied on his extraordinary flying talent to land safely on the ground. He was just panting. As the huge steel frame collapsed, he looked at the fireman Killian nervously. He was not dead yet. Hey, haven't you been looking for the Mandarin all the time? Ah, I am, Tony. I have been from the beginning. I'm the Mandarin. More than 20% of his body tissue disappeared and carbonized, but Killian was not injured. It may also be because his body has the lowest rejection of the extremis virus and a higher degree of integration. He walked out of the sea of fire tremblingly, and the carbonized body tissue kept falling off, while new body tissue began to grow. Bang! Pepper Potts, who was full of heroic spirit and glowing red, held a steel rod in his hand. It was unknown who got the inspiration from. He rushed to Tony from the side and hit Killian 10 meters away with a stick. The crazy shouting stopped instantly. Pepper, are you okay? The woman with a tiger-like body was obviously not the gentle and lovely little Pepper Tony knew. At this time, he was looking at her in shock, watching the brave and fierce woman walking towards him step by step. The body lying on the ground unconsciously shrank back, and his throat was dry and itchy. Whoosh, beep. In the night sky, a mark armor with a metal shell full of traces of fireworks and battles. The sight in the mask locked Pepper on the ground. BIU. No, 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 Jarvis, my 12 o'clock direction is not a target. Cancel the attack. Tony's fingers touched the communicator on his ear, and then he found that it had fallen out of his ear when he landed. Swish. Pepper, like a female Valkyrie, twisted her body to avoid the energy beam. She glared at Tony with a bad look, then dived and accelerated. Hey, Pepper, you are not blaming me, are you? Swish. Pepper stepped on Tony's bent knee with a single foot and jumped to a height of 5 meters. Bang. A single fist penetrated the core energy compartment of the mark armor. Obviously, Pepper, who was glowing red, was not in an unconscious state of confusion. She obviously still retained some sanity in the memory of the structure of the mark armor. This is too violent and terrifying, right? Tony, the gentle person you always wanted to introduce to me, could she be her? Haha, oh, LUO, this is not the Pepper I usually see. It must be the extremis virus. Yes, that's right. It must be because of that. Rowan slowly walked over and helped the stunned Tony up from the ground, and the two grown men could only watching the fireman Killian slowly getting up from the ground, roaring and rushing over, and then being hit by a cool side elbow by the cold-faced and tyrannical woman. Killian was knocked out again. Wow. Snap, tearing off one arm of Mark's battlesuit on the ground and loading it on her right hand. Kicking the missile on the ground towards the staggering Killian. Beep, the palm cannon charging sound rang out. BIU. Bang. Boom. So cool. So cool. After the smoke dissipated, the tenacious Killian could no longer be seen on the ground. Hoo. Pepper, whose body was on fire, gradually calmed down, and the desperate virus under her skin slowly subsided. Honey? Oh, God, this is too violent. Hoo, he can speak. It seems that he has really stabilized. You scared me to death. I just thought you were going to beat me up. Woo. The two hugged each other tightly with tears in their eyes. Caught off guard, the single dog Rowan was forced to eat a mouthful of dog food. TSK, what? Chirp, TSK, bang, bang. As the big boss Killian was killed, Tony and Pepper expressed their concerns to each other and expressed their respective feelings. In order to celebrate Christmas and everyone's safety, Tony Stark set off all the Iron Man suits. He is really rich and willful. He blew up the armor to cheer everyone up. The plot of Iron Man 3 is very compact, and the time span of the main plot is not long. It's just that Dr. Killian, who is narrow-minded, was stood up once 13 years ago, so he devoted himself to studying the extremis virus, wanted to seek revenge on Tony Stark, and by the way, showed his ambition to dominate the world. He is extreme, likes to get stuck in a dead end, and is anti-human. Although his experience is worthy of sympathy, Killian eventually went astray because he could not find his own light from the darkness, but was swallowed by the darkness. Rowan traveled to this world on the night of the 22nd, but it was just about 3 days. Following Tony Stark, he moved from Tennessee to Miami, and finally to this port. What he saw and heard, the experiences and insights along the way, also opened his eyes and benefited him a lot. At least the extremis virus and the property collected by licking the bag are all real things. Not to mention, Tony also promised Rowan that he would reward him after the matter was resolved. Rowan, come back to New York with me. Don't worry, I will fulfill the conditions I promised you. In addition, you must be my best man at my wedding with Pepper. Huh. Rowan, Tony has just told me about you. Don't worry. In New York, Tony and I will be your best friends in the future. Haha. Rowan not only saved her, but also saved Tony. He repeatedly lent a hand. Who wouldn't like such a good man? The vice president was arrested, and Trev was taken away. Rod promised to help him apply for a pardon. He was just a tainted witness. The FBI who took him away was just for witness protection. Tony realized Hal's dream, a laboratory, a car, a potato gun, and his sister's limited edition watch. At Tony's invitation, Rowan came to New York and lived in a single family villa with a luxury car and a check. In the following time, while preparing for the wedding, he went to his temporary studio to learn and help design and produce Mark 43. Helping is a polite way of saying it. Learning is the main thing. Design and production are all done by Tony. 3 months later, Rowan lived a secluded life. In addition to studying at home, he also went to Tony's house. He lived a life like an ascetic monk. He met Happy, who was discharged from the hospital. With the help of Rod, he obtained a legal American identity and had his own silver great suit. Rowan yearned for the galaxy and the universe, so he named it the Starsuit. Tony's wedding was grand, but also very warm. Because not many people came, only those who accepted the invitation could attend his private wedding. The young and handsome black-haired young man Rowan received special attention from the guests. Unfortunately, that night, Rowan emptied his storage space and put a 1 meter long, 0.5 meter thick alloy box into it. Ding, Mark 42 modification has been collected. System task completed. Forced to return to the main world in 12 hours. Then there is the gold bar in his personal safe, which he exchanged for all his belongings. The market price of gold is $35 per gram. Rowan exchanged a total of 150 kilograms of gold. Now after returning, he can at least become a multi-millionaire. By the way, what is the recycling price of gold in the main world? Various precision tools taken from Tony's studio, not stolen, but taken after asking for permission, plus 2 orange desperate viruses. After the storage space was full, Rowan took a last look at the sea outside the French window. The turbulent waves under the starry sky were so intoxicating and refreshing. System, return to the main world. After all, this is not his home, and he can't stay here forever. Whoosh. With the light flickering, Rowan's body has disappeared silently from this world. As for Tony, Pepper, and Happy, will they go to look for the missing Rowan? He also left a letter on the table in the living room, saying that he was going to travel around the world, and please forgive him for leaving without saying goodbye. Chapter 19 Return. A few months have passed in a hurry, and I feel as if things have changed. Snap under the white light, it is still the same narrow and shabby little room. I have lived in it for 3 years, so it is impossible not to be familiar with it. From time to time, I can hear wildcats calling outside the window. In front of me, there are shadows of several middle-aged men and women playing mahjong. The sound is particularly clear. Sharp and high-pitched calls, low and sharp threatening roars. According to the different frequencies, there should be 2 males and 4 females. The 2 men playing mahjong in that family weigh at least 80 kilograms, and there are 2 women. Judging from the sound alone, they should be around 30 years old. In the other direction, there are also men and women. Compared with the previous vagueness, Luo Wen now feels particularly harsh and uncomfortable. Is it because of the enhanced hearing? Moreover, why do I feel a dullness all over my body, as if I haven't taken a shower for several days? The kind of uncomfortable and blocked feeling. Energy affinity. Can't absorb energy in the main world. Click, the mechanical sound of the second hand moving. The small alarm clock on the bedside table was left by the previous tenant. It was probably the Nunanfu battery he replaced before leaving. It can still work now. The hour hand points to 12, the minute hand 2, and the red second hand points to 10. It seems that, after he traveled through time, time has really come to a standstill. Luo Wen was just stunned for a while, afraid that he was dreaming. He took out his fully charged mobile phone again, connected to the Wi-Fi network, and the time was automatically calibrated. July 1st, 2020. I actually traveled back from another time and space. A heavy gold bar in my hand is so dazzling, and so exciting. 500 G each, 300 in total. Haha, I'm rich, I'm rich. Ding, return to the main world. Fixed reward storage space increased to 2 meters. Ding, collect modified mark armor. Desperate virus mission completed. Normal difficulty reward 200 trading points. Desperate virus has been optimized. No rejection side effects. Ding, novice welfare plane completed successfully. Randomly rewarded to level technological civilization warship 10% discount coupon. Ding, plane shuttle. At the same time at the end of each month. Please keep up the good work. Don't slack off. After several months of proficient use of the storage space, Luo Wen understood that it can not only maintain the shape of a cube, but also any shape, as long as he wants, but the size is limited to 1 meter. Now it has doubled, which instantly made Luo Wen feel more satisfied. 200 transaction points is still a little too little, just enough to buy a level 1 gene enhancement potion. Alas, the system is really stingy. However, 2 desperate viruses without side effects. This is really a big harvest. He no longer regretted why he didn't search a little more. Things have already passed, and it's useless to think too much. Wait, although Luo Wen has no interest in injecting desperate viruses for the time being, he is concerned about the so-called coupons. It will take some time to open the system mall and find a specific item in the dazzling catalog. However, the system produced by the god-level civilization will certainly not ignore this small detail. The heart moves at will. In the holographic image interface, the level 2 technological civilization warship corresponding to the 10% discount coupon is directly displayed in the search box. Planetary class battleship, driven by antimatter engine. The maximum cruising speed is 1/10 of the speed of light, equipped with a curvature engine, which can achieve 10 times the speed of light. Each charge lasts for 10 hours and the maximum operation time is 1 hour. There is 1 planetary class antimatter main gun and 4 1/10 power secondary guns. The main control of the spacecraft is assisted by weak artificial intelligence, and the warship can achieve primary unmanned operation. The spherical warship with a diameter of 1000 meters is made of nano-level superalloy metal, and can withstand the nuclear weapon attack of level 1 technological civilization. It is equipped with an energy shield, which can be charged for 10 hours, and can resist the antimatter main gun once. His mouth is already wide open, and the last part of the introduction is also the part that Luo Wen is most concerned about. Price: 200,000 transaction points. Damn, so expensive? Even if there is a 10% discount, he still needs to save up 20,000 trading points first. System: open the personal panel. Host: Luo Wen race, human, level 0 technological civilization carbon-based creature. Abilities: strength 15, ordinary person 1, agility 15, ordinary person 1, stamina 15, ordinary person 1, spirit 10, ordinary person 1, talent, energy affinity, gift from the system, life force. 150 years trading points. 300 points storage space. 2 meters putting aside the 4-dimensional attributes that have been upgraded again. With a balance of only 300 trading points, Luo Wen can only sight the 10% discount coupon in his hand, which is far away. Alas. In the Iron Man dimension, although he had good food and accommodation, and could learn a lot of practical knowledge and skills with the help of Tony, Brown's 4-dimensional attribute growth became slow, and he did not dare to delay until the arrival of the 1-year time limit. In case he was baptized by the culture of another world, his living habits would change too much. Once he returned to the main world, he would have to spend more time to adjust. Since the effect of energy affinity seemed to stop here, he had basically achieved the maximum benefit. After comprehensive consideration, Brown finally chose to return. He put away the gold bars and the star armor that he had confirmed again, and put them back into the storage space. Round lay on his familiar bed, but he couldn't fall asleep. It might be because he was too excited, or because his sleep time had been greatly reduced after his mental attributes were improved. Only sleeping for 6 hours can ensure full energy for the whole day. The main world Blue Star is probably the so-called spiritual energy depleted world. Especially after returning from the Iron Man dimension, Ran, whose 5 senses have been strengthened, has a deep understanding of this. But as the saying goes, a son does not dislike his mother's ugliness, and a dog does not dislike his family's poverty. No matter how inferior it is to the Marvel universe full of magic and science fiction, Round still believes that his home, Zaya country, Blue Star, and even the Milky Way are his real hometown. Beep, beep. At 6 in the morning, the alarm rang on time. Snap, a slender arm with beautiful muscular lines gently pressed the switch above. The sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, the originally delicate face, are now evolving towards the direction of perfection. Harmonious and natural, the facial features are more three-dimensional and handsome. In the open eyelids, there is a pair of clear eyes that seem to have stars flowing in them. After that cleansing of the meridians and marrow, Luo Wen's body secretions became less and more transparent. He only speculated that it might be a change brought about by the improvement of physical fitness, and did not continue to study it in depth. Anyway, it's all a good thing, just like who would always want to go to the hospital when they are not sick. Huh, I'm full of beauty and expectations for this world now. Get up and put on your clothes. Why do the clothes and pants feel a little tight? Oh no. Luo Wen seemed to have thought of something, and hurried to the public toilet. The cement on the ground had an unpleasant smell of mold and stains. Because the house was old, it had long turned into a blurry black color. The wash basin and mirror were also yellow and dark. There were 4 single young men living on the 2nd floor, and a middle-aged couple working at a nearby construction site. Just think about it, and you will know how good the public toilet environment can be. However, these are not the focus of Luo Wen's consideration now. Hey, I said I would go to work for the last day today, and say hello to everyone, but now it seems obviously inappropriate. Looking at the image in the mirror, which was completely different from his previous image, Luo Wen couldn't help but sigh while muttering, if he went to work at the company, wouldn't his colleagues be amazed and stare at him non-stop? Forget it. Call Leo Zhao to ask for leave first. When you come back from the high temperature vacation, go and handle the resignation directly. Now is the off season anyway, the company is waiting for someone to resign voluntarily. Luo Wen is not a pretentious person. Besides, he has worked in this company for 3 years. Apart from endless dog food, there is not even a single person he likes. As for those who like him, Luo Wen obviously excluded them. He thought that on the day of resignation, he would treat everyone to a meal, just to part ways in peace. They are all honest workers, and they have not experienced any major ups and downs together. There is only the faint warmth of being colleagues and the increasingly familiar relationship. Luo Wen does not have any inseparable melancholy feelings about this. Besides, this is not the first time Luo Wen has resigned. He has long been accustomed to the indifference of people coming and going, and gradually decreasing contact. Chapter 20 Lease Termination. Since you have found a better job, I can only wish you a bright future Luo. We all don't want you to leave, haha. Luo Wen couldn't help but feel moved by the familiar voice on the other end of the phone, but he also knew that a mixture of sincerity and courtesy is always the way leaders like to speak, especially Leo Zhao, who speaks differently to different people. His colleagues who had joined the factory earlier than him, who worked on the line, and had better job abilities than him, were still only team leaders of the opposite shift, but Leo Zhao, on the other hand, had risen rapidly, and started to act as team leader and only worked during the day. Haha, squad leader, you are joking. I'm not a big leader. There is nothing I can do about it. I'm old enough. You know my home is in Jiangling district. Langyang district is too far away. Well, okay, remember to go through the resignation procedures after the high temperature holiday. I will ask Ziting to count your full attendance for yesterday's leave, so that the company won't deduct your money. Not bad. Oh, okay, thank you, squad leader. Luo Wen is a soldier under Leo Zhao, at least at the beginning. When he just entered the factory, Luo Zhao was promoted from the site person in charge to the team leader. Luo Wen's mentor apprentice teaching was arranged by Luo Zhao. He found him a good master with solid job skills and responsible work on the site. It's just a pity that Luo Liu resigned and returned to his hometown a year ago. I don't know if he is married now. Now 3 years have passed. Luo Zhao has become the acting team leader. Luo Wen has also become one of the line leaders of the team's 3 assembly lines from a rookie. He continues to do the front line work, but he has more tasks such as writing reports, arranging work for others, and checking the morning and evening meetings every day. The work intensity has increased instead of decreased, but the base salary has also increased by 500. The basic salary of frontline employees is only 1900, and Luo Wen's 2400 is still high. The base for calculating overtime pay is also different. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Luo Wen sold his bicycle to the bicycle owner. He bought it for 550, and now he only got back 100. By the way, he had a breakfast on the way, watching the busy people going to work, leisurely eating pickled mustard and shredded pork noodles, and drinking original ground soy milk. This feeling is really too good. Back at the rental house, the landlord took advantage of the cool morning and came back from a walk in the community leisure center. Hey, Zhao Luo asked for leave again today. Why didn't he go to work? Although the house is old, the rent is very low. After all, there is no air conditioner installed. A single room is 700. The first floor is for self-occupation, and the upper 3 floors are rented out. The landlord, with a smiling and concerned expression on his face, is a high-income person, so naturally he treats every tenant very kindly. Oh, I resigned, and the landlord happened to meet you and told you that I'm going to check out. Please check the water and electricity bills and rent. I will move out today. Huh. Zhao Luo, we agreed before that half of the deposit will be deducted if you suddenly move out. If you give us a month in advance, we won't deduct your deposit. See? The old man is very realistic. He was amiable 1 second, but his expression became uncertain the next. Even though the object was Luo Wen, who always had a good impression of him, he neither messed around nor defaulted on the rent. Haha, I know. Didn't I pay a deposit of 1000? I breached the contract first. You can deduct it if you should. I admit it. The rent was paid on the 20th. I only lived there for 10 days. After deducting the water and electricity bills, can you help me calculate it? Oh, it's good that you know. I'm just afraid that some people will make a fuss. You say it would be great if everyone was as reasonable as you. Okay, wait a minute. I'll go read the electricity meter. The landlord didn't say anything else. He turned and walked into his room. Then, together with Luo Wen, he first checked the room to see if there was any damage. Obviously not. Not only were the 3 old items not damaged, Luo Wen also put a layer of protective paper on them. He also left the router, electric fan, and the cool mat on the bed. This made the landlord wave his hand and said that the 20 yuan water fee would be waived. Haha, this old man is really generous. The water fee of 20 yuan a month was only used for 10 days, so only 7 yuan should be deducted. Forget it, forget it. Luo Wen is not such a fussy person. He is just used to being frugal and likes to calculate in his mind. A suitcase with Luo Wen's clothes and shoes inside, and a backpack on his back with his ID and small things inside. Zhao Luo, have a safe journey. Landlord, goodbye. Waving his hand, Luo Wen took his 900 yuan and walked out of the community without looking back. There is a cement road next to the landlord's house. To the left is the living area and the place to eat and buy things. To the right, 30 meters away is the main road. Along the main road, only a few dozen meters before and after is the entrance to the subway station. It can be regarded as a good location with very convenient transportation conditions. Of course, if it weren't for this, it would be extremely unreasonable to rent his house for 700 yuan with its basic environment and facilities. Plop. Walking to the corner, Luo Wen threw the suitcase into the metal trash can. A foul smell accompanied by flies flying everywhere. They were all some clothes and shoes that no longer fit. He had originally planned to take them out and throw them away after cleaning the room. Moreover, the suitcase had been with him for nearly 9 years. He had been dragging it since he was in vocational high school. It had long been aging and had no surplus value. Luo Wen was in a good mood. Facing the gradually warming sunshine, he strode towards the subway station. As for carrying a backpack home, it was just to hide his tracks. Besides, he was used to carrying some personal belongings every time, such as wallets, water, power banks, ID cards, pens, and notebooks. What's more, his first destination now was not the suite rented by his mother in the community in Jiangling district, but the Jinfu Jewelry on the most prosperous commercial street in Langyang district. Glancing around, this is a corner of the industrial zone. Except for the rush hour, there are always a lot of people. In front of me, there is only a young woman holding an umbrella, pushing a baby stroller, and carrying breakfast. There is no one behind me for hundreds of meters. Across the flower bed, there are only empty trams on the main road, and a few cars passing by. I walked sideways into an empty alley. When I came out again, the woman pushing the stroller had disappeared. She must have walked into a small alley. Luo Wen had a silver grey metal suitcase in his hand, which was brand new and simple. This one was actually used to carry the star armor, but now Luo Wen had installed the yellow-orange precious metals. He had searched it on his mobile phone before going out. There is actually not much difference between having a certificate and not having a certificate. It is just a reference for the purity of gold. They will still test it if necessary, but the gold with a certificate can be recycled faster through official channels. Today's gold price is 450 yuan per gram, which means that 150 kilograms of gold, even if the recycling price is a few dozen lower, can still be sold for at least 60 million. Hishaha, just thinking about it, Luo Wen couldn't stop getting excited. Although the villa Tony gave him and his sports car are both worth hundreds of millions, but he can't bring those back after all. These golds are definitely real stuff. Chapter 21 Huge sum of money. At 9:30 in the morning, as the largest gold and silver jewelry dealer in Langyang district and even in Haching, Jinfu Jewelry covers a wide range of business. It not only sells gold and silver jewelry of various prices, but also processes jade and recycles second-hand luxury goods. They even have a 30-story building in Jianglang CBD as their headquarters. There are more than 100 chain stores and franchise brands under their umbrella. In Kaianhu province, Jinfu Jewelry is one of the top brands. Its total market value exceeded 30 billion last year. Hey, Xiaoli, it's Wednesday. What's wrong with the store manager? The weather is so hot, but she asked us to achieve such a high sales performance this month. Otherwise we will be punished. Is she crazy? Even Wang Ping, the sales champion last month, just met the target. Wearing a slender and straight women's uniform, exquisite makeup, black stockings and high heels under a short skirt, as the salesperson of Jinfu Jewelry's head office in Langyang district. All of them are young and beautiful girls who have gone through many trials and tribulations to be selected. Hush, are you going to die? The store manager is still in the office. Don't you know that she has super hearing? If this gets into her ears, it will be a relief to you. Don't run into the gun, because it's the off season, or you will be fired. Yes. Xiaoli's little brain is still quick. Hee, let's go eat hot pot together after get off work in the evening. It's a good time to go and see the new bags and clothes. She covered her mouth with her small and white palm and found that everyone was busy preparing for work at their respective counters. Zhang Manli then bypassed the unpleasant topic and talked about happy things with her bestie. Anyway, today is only the first. If there are any problems, it is not too late to worry about them after the end of the month. Girls, especially those who are both beautiful and excellent, can easily find a rich husband. Now that she is a little angry with the store manager who is in menopause, she can just bear it. Shh, a customer is coming. Let's talk later. White long-sleeved t-shirt, black trousers, a pair of clean white shoes. There is no decoration on his hands, chest, but his skin looks good. Moreover, he has a clean and light short hair, handsome and upright facial features, a gentle and faint smile, and deep and dark eyes. Wow, what is going on today? I actually saw such a handsome guy so early in the morning. Come here, come here. More than 20 professional salesmen put on fresh and gentle smiles, and they shouted in their hearts, handsome guy, come to me, come to me. Welcome, sir. Do you have any familiar sales consultants? Haha. Two beautiful black silk beauties bowed slightly and looked at Luo Wen with a hint of teasing and intimacy. Their expressions were very friendly, not to mention their soft and comfortable voices. The magnificent, bright and transparent sales hall is at least 500 square meters in size. It is full of jewels and gems, and it is full of eye-catching charm for both men and women. It's just a pity that Luo Wen is not here to buy things, but to sell things. However, there is no difference. Gold is a scarce precious metal. It is not only a consumer product that is deeply loved by people, but also has indispensable importance in industry. A jewelry store is of course very willing to recycle gold. On the display screen at the door, there is a scrolling slogan that says, high price recycling gold, no deception for children or adults. Oh, no, I'm not here to buy anything. Luo Wen didn't experience the hidden rule of looking at people to serve them differently. Maybe it's because he treats people with sincerity, and his attitude is gentle and not humble. It's also possible that his appearance and figure complement each other and win their favor. In addition, the silver grey metal trolley case in his hand and his unbranded high-end casual clothes under their vicious eyes, they have confirmed that Luo Wen is at least a high-income group. I just don't know if he is a workplace elite, an entrepreneurial expert, or a rich second generation. Okay, we can also recycle the things you sell. Please go to the lounge first. We have professional appraisers. Hey, are the salesmen here so professional? Luo Wen was also a little confused. How come they guessed that he was here to sell things before he said a few words? Oh, not buying and pulling a trolley case that looks very high end. No wonder. Haha. Hey, why did Miss Wang bring him to the lounge? Is he a big plant? How should I know? You have been here half a year before me. You can't even judge a person clearly. How can I be better than you? Chuckling, Xiaoli, you are really good at talking. Just for that sentence, sister will treat you to hot pot tonight. When Xiaoli couldn't help rolling her eyes. She had no way to deal with this careless, but very caring sister Lily. However, why did that handsome guy glance at them and then quickly concentrate on looking at the road, as if he had no interest in their appearance at all? Sitting in the VIP lounge, drinking jasmine tea, Luo Wen had no idea what women were thinking. The more attention they received, the more focused Luo Wen's eyes became. He was like a person with mental cleanliness who deliberately maintained high standards for himself. It was not that he was cold-blooded and pretended to be noble and did not like beautiful women. It might be that he could not accept that he was like a pervert in public, showing a pig-like expression. It might also be that with the blessing of the system, he had higher pursuits in his heart and had more requirements for his life partner. Hello, sir. I'm Wu Yuru, the store manager of Jinfu Jewelry. Are you here to recycle something? Compared with the youthful, beautiful, and energetic female salesperson in the hall, Wu Yuru was undoubtedly more restrained and subtle. Moreover, with her hair tied up and a pair of suit trousers that exposed her ankles, this beautiful and mature woman had a strange traditional charm. Luo Wen would not like mature women and the rare type with more conservative ideas, right? It's 2020 now. Are there still people born after 1995 like this? Yes. Please take a look first. Luo Wen is a poor loser. In addition to seeing the ladies with good looks at Tony's wedding, but those are all Western aesthetic standards, and he can't appreciate them. Today is the first time he is in such an environment, smelling those fragrances and perfumes that make people's blood boil. He has secretly adjusted his mind several times and calmed down his emotions for a while. At this time, he dare not delay any longer, otherwise he is really afraid that he will do something irrational, staring at others, or talking about deep things with superficial friends, and have some connection with them. The fewer people you know, the less trouble you will have. In Luo Wen's concept, it has never been more friends, more roads. With a click, the suitcase was placed on the glass coffee table. Fortunately, the glass coffee table was of good quality and did not crack or collapse. By the way, I haven't asked for your name, sir. Wu Yuru is 35 years old and has been working in the jewelry business for nearly 10 years. She has dealt with all kinds of people. Although she is no longer young and has grown old, she has always been very confident in her body management and image and temperament. Unexpectedly, this handsome and energetic young man actually didn't take it seriously. Not to mention being eager, he didn't even intend to tell her his name. What the hell is this? Luo Wen, let's look at the things first. Oh, haha, squeak, hiss. Luo Wen turned the open box in front of Wu Yuru, and the gold bars fixed with straps also came into her eyes at this time. It's not that Wu Yuru is surprised by what she has seen before, or that she is not broad-minded. As the person in charge of the Langyang district head office, she has seen hundreds of millions of jadeite and large quantities of gold and silver jewelry. The total value of the exhibits in this store alone and the stock in the safe in the warehouse is as high as more than 100 million. The reason why she lost her composure and showed a surprised expression was entirely because she was affected by Luo Wen's emotions. The key point was that she didn't expect that this taciturn, calm and handsome young man would actually take out such a pile of gold bars at once. There was no logo, and there was no magazine in sight. Just holding it in her hand, Wu Yuru was sure through the gloves that it should be 999 pure gold. Mr. Luo, are you planning to sell all of these? Of course, as long as the price is right. The recycling price of 999 gold in our store is 420. If these are all 999 gold that meet the standards, I can decide not to charge you for the inspection fee. What do you think, Mr. Luo? Haha, Luo Wen had checked before coming here. In the absence of a certificate, gold naturally needs to be inspected. The general handling fee is 1 yuan per gram. According to his current total weight of 150 kilograms, that is a handling fee of 150,000. Moreover, Luo Wen also felt that he could accept the recycling price of 420, which even exceeded his expectations. Okay, that's great. Thank you Mr. Luo for your trust and support for our Jinfu jewelry. You and I will go to the inspection room to weigh it now, and then sign a sales agreement. I will take advantage of this time to apply for payment from the headquarters. Holding the slightly warm and soft little hand, Luo Wen only touched it and stopped. Under the guidance of the excited female store manager, just as she turned around, a scent like musk and orchid drifted into her nose. Luo Wen couldn't help but feel a little distracted, but he quickly calmed down and followed with his suitcase. Weighing, going to the testing table, and using a metal detector for destructive sampling and testing, Luo Wen watched, and although he felt that the repetitive work of the appraiser was boring, he couldn't just leave. After all, compared to the VIP lounge with a transparent glass door, this testing room full of men made him feel more relaxed and comfortable. Luo Wen really couldn't stand those fiery eyes. At 10:30 in the morning, Wu Yuru, with a friendly smile and radiant face, personally sent Luo Wen to the door of the store. Although she wanted to exchange private phone numbers with him, Luo Wen even refused the supreme VIP card of Jinfu jewelry. Wu Yuru had no choice but to give up this idea. Compared to making friends with a potential big customer, getting to know a handsome and wealthy young man, not arousing his disgust, or even causing misunderstandings and contradictions, is obviously the truth that a store manager must understand. Alas, if I were a few years younger, I might have just left him my phone number and didn't even want to add him on WeChat. This Luo Wen has such a weird temper. Wu Yuru looked regretful. Although she failed to leave her contact information, she changed her mind and realized that her store had completed such a large order when the overall jewelry industry was in the off-season. She was sure that they would be among the top in the regional selection this year. Her mood gradually improved. When Luo Wen turned around with his backpack on his back, he had a bright smile on his face because the text message on his mobile phone had prompted that the remittance was successful. Now the number on it had changed from 6 digits to 8 digits. 63,105,032. That was more than 63 million. How could he not smile like a flower? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Return Home. Luo Wen's home is in Mingquan Town, 20 kilometers away from the central urban area of Jiangling District. He took the bus to the town, and then called a tricycle or a van, which cost 15 yuan to reach a small village called Luo Village. In fact, it is less than 5 kilometers away from the town, but if you really want to walk, you have to walk for more than half an hour. There are no elderly people in Luo Wen's family. His grandparents had passed away long before he went to elementary school. Moreover, Luo Wen started living in the school since he was in junior high school, and the same was true until the vocational high school. Later, he worked, changed jobs, became an apprentice, opened a shop to repair computers, and then re-entered the factory. He has always been self-reliant and used to being alone. Perhaps it is because of the environment he grew up in. So Luo Wen has a strange character who is not so keen on feelings, but yearns for a family atmosphere in his heart. Of course, Luo Wen is now sitting on the subway, and the home he is going back to is not the old house in the countryside that no one has cleaned up, but the Feely Garden community in the urban area of Jiangling District. Apart from the Spring Festival, their family basically goes back there. Luo Wen's younger brother Luo Wu just graduated this year and works in sales at a 4S store. Luo Wen's mother Ngixiang gave up her rural peasant life and joined the army of migrant workers since Luo Wu was admitted to the experimental high school in the district. It seems that it was around 2014 when Luo Wu was admitted to university. Luo Wen's father Luo Deke was also liberated from the loneliness of staying in the countryside and guarding the retreat. He found a job in a feed factory in the suburbs of Jiangling District, with food and accommodation, social security, 4 days off a month, and a year-end bonus. For Luo Wen's father, who is used to a hard life, apart from rest and work, he has always been an honest person and worked steadily, and can save 70,000 yuan a year. Luo Wen's mother is responsible for the rent and household expenses. However, her work intensity is much easier than Luo Deke's, and she has more freedom in time arrangement, because she is now the cleaning supervisor. Whoosh, the brand new carriage, the bright and cool interior environment. Luo Wen put his backpack on his chest. There are obviously not many people in the carriage. I don't understand why those girls who used to be very normal always lean towards him intentionally or unintentionally today, as if there is something inexplicably attractive about him. The empty carriage can accommodate one person in a 1 meter wide seat, but a small group of people wearing Lalita, JK uniforms, and Hanfu laughed and surrounded Luo Wen in the middle. Although their foundation is not bad, they are petite, cute, and youthful and lively, but their non-mainstream dresses show that they are students from the university town in Jiangling District. If they are not students, how can they have such a relaxing and happy time on a Wednesday working day? Luo Wen turned a blind eye and leaned his head against the back of the chair and closed his eyes. He also put on the do not disturb headphones in his ears. Hey, this little brother is so handsome. I must get him. Shh, keep your voice down. What if he hears? You rotten girl, don't scare him away. Tell me, whoever speaks first, or whoever gets the WeChat first, the little brothers? But what if he doesn't give it to me? Oh, yeah, I don't know which school he is from. How about we see where he gets off, and follow him quietly? Know yourself and the enemy, and you will never be in danger of 100 battles. As long as we act together, the little brother will definitely not escape from our grasp. Luo Wen's originally calm face, but now there is a big black line on his forehead. Are the little girls nowadays so fierce? Even if there are not many people in the car, as girls, shouldn't they be a little reserved, since they are so proactive? Why are they still single? Luo Wen exhaled lightly, and then slowly opened his eyes. The 3 little girls exclaimed softly, and smiled shyly. After looking at each other, they couldn't help but lower their heads. Oh, it turned out that they had the desire, but not the courage. Relying on their numbers, surrounding the little brother was already their limit. Beep. The next stop is Qinghu College. Passengers who want to get off, please take your personal belongings and prepare to get off. This time, the right door will be opened. At this time, the subway announcement sounded. The three little girls took their bags and stood at the door together. When they turned their heads to observe Luo Wen quietly, they found that he had no intention of getting off at all. This is already the last stop in the university town. Isn't he a student of King Hu College? Luo Wen stood up from his seat. He just did it for a long time and wanted to move his hands and feet. The three sneaky girls showed excited little expressions. Beep, beep. The door opened, and the three girls got off the car quickly and stopped at the escalator, whispering and discussing something. When the little brother comes, we will ask him to take a photo for us, and then say that our mobile phones are out of battery. As long as he agrees to us, we will have the contact information. At that time, who can grab the little brother will depend on their ability. That's it. Yeah, okay. Beep, beep, A. The door is closed. Where is the little brother? Luo Wen. Of course he continued to sit down. This is not the station he wants to get off. Beep. The next stop is Jiangling Living Room Station. This train will go to Qinghushan Metro Town, the terminal station of this line. Please get ready for the passengers getting off at Jiangling Living Room Station. The three girls did nothing wrong. It's just that Luo Wen doesn't like these two-dimensional cultures, especially for students who are not doing their homework. Luo Wen finds it difficult to have any good feelings towards them. Even if today is Wednesday, shouldn't they focus on studying? Luo Wen himself failed to get into university because of his serious academic bias. He was very upset for a while, and then he slowly integrated into the real social life. Although he did not achieve any industry leader or outstanding level in doing things, he loved his job, took every job seriously, and loved what he did. This is also the motto he set for himself. Besides, ordinary people who do two things at the same time are always deceiving themselves. Luo Wen can't think of any distractions or ideas about their slightly immature figures and looks, except that they are cute. It's true that Luo Wen really likes plump and mature women, and has no interest in immature little apples. At 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the scorching sun distorted the air on the main road, and Luo Wen, who straightened his spine and walked silently on the road, automatically adjusted his body temperature. Every pore was emitting heat to lower the temperature in his body. The crowd hurriedly passing by, whether men or women, were either sweating profusely, with a flushed face, wearing ice sleeves, sun hats, sunglasses, sun protective shirts, or holding parasols, but still could not resist the hot and humid temperature environment around them, with hair sticking to their cheeks, and dense beads of sweat hanging on the tip of their noses, either exposing their arms or thighs. Or both arms and thighs. A weirdo like Luo Wen, a young man wearing long sleeves and long pants, with no adverse reactions on his face, and a handsome guy with delicate and fair skin, vigor, freshness and cheerfulness, is indeed a strange and rare scenery on the road. Chapter 23. What? Luo Wen yesterday. Yes, according to the time of this world, his mother did call him last night, and said that he would try to come back before the bank closed. However, because Luo Wen had changed so much, he came back at noon. As for work, he just had to wait for the company to start work and fill out the resignation form. Luo Wen actually took a whole morning off yesterday and came back just to apply for a home loan. He didn't even meet his mother because he was thinking about the full attendance award. As a result, the income conditions were not met, and the bank asked the agent and him to go back to supplement the materials. Therefore, Luo Wen has not seen his parents for several months. He is not worried that he can't make it up or explain his changes. As the saying goes, every time a man cuts his hair, he becomes a different person. Whitening the skin means that he doesn't see the sun every day. A ruddy complexion makes a person look more energetic and handsome because he eats well and sleeps well. In a word, because there is enough time difference as a prelude, Luo Wen is not worried that his parents will suspect something. Besides, who would be so bored as to send Luo Wen to the laboratory for dissection and slice? The reason why he is so cautious is just to reduce the possibility of exposing the secrets of the system. As a loner working at the bottom, who would pay special attention to him? Why did he suddenly grow taller and become more handsome? Or did he have a large amount of money in the bank? Anyway, as long as it is not illegal, Xiaoguo's supervision of ordinary citizens is not that strict. After walking for about 10 minutes, I saw either building materials and tiles or hardware and home textiles, as well as decoration stores on both sides of the road. These businesses are not places with high traffic, not to mention at noon. The flowers and leaves on the green belts all seemed to have been dried up and looked listless. The shop owners either closed the glass doors to eat or took a nap on the recliners. Luo Wen quietly carried a backpack and wore high quality clothes brought back from the world of Iron Man. He walked into the community through the open pedestrian passage. The old security guards were taking a nap in the air-conditioned booths. Luo Wen was basically the only one walking around the community. In the open space opposite the stairs, there were piles of renovation waste, bricks, cement slag, wooden boards with nails, and old furniture with no recycling value. There was also a large iron trash can with a foul odor and flies buzzing around. The garbage in this building was not classified, and it was always piled up like this. However, I heard that Hutching is applying to build a civilized city, and it seems that a garbage classification policy will be introduced soon. Private cars that have not bought parking spaces are parked on both sides of the not very spacious cement road. It seems even more crowded and messy at this time. The house rented by Luo Wen's mother is on the second floor, but the house number is 105 because the first floor is an open storefront, and the second floor is a commercial house transformed from an overhead floor, and the house type is extremely unreasonable. The third floor and above are the residential houses with normal house types and reasonable structures. Huata, click. It is precisely because the second floor is rebuilt from an elevated floor that a long row of houses share a corridor, unlike the third floor and above, which have separate entrance doors. The corridor is about 4 meters wide, and there is a long balcony that is always lacking windows and glass. Whoosh, it's really comfortable and cool, and the wind is blowing. Luo Wen took out the key, turned it twice in a row, and then lifted the door handle slightly. With a click, the door finally opened. From the entrance door, you can go past the living room with insufficient lighting, the bathroom corridor, and then the bedroom, and finally see the big tree on the green belt of the road, with lush branches and leaves. Yes, just like a corridor, the house that Luo Wen's family rented is also a long strip that runs through. In fact, it has the same structure as the shop downstairs. The rent is 20,000 yuan a year, and the property owner is responsible for the water and electricity. Perhaps it was because of the rent, the fact that Luo Wu had graduated from university, and Luo Wen was about to turn 25, that Ren's mother started to think about it. She couldn't wait to get money together for a loan, to buy a big house that truly belonged to her. The rented house here has indeed completed its historical mission, and it's time to prepare to move. Hello, Mom, I'm home. When are you coming back? Luo Wen fried 2 dishes by himself, and then cooked half a rice cooker of rice, which solved the lunch problem. He took a cold shower, changed into a pair of breeches and short-sleeved shirts, and then sat in the cool living room, and called his mother. He didn't even need to turn on the fan. It was so magical. It's not even 2 o'clock yet. How come you're back so soon? Have you had lunch? There's watermelon in the fridge and dumplings in the freezer. Haha, Mother Ren hasn't seen her eldest son for half a year, since the Chinese New Year. She heard his energetic voice, but she didn't know if he had gained weight or lost weight recently. Oh, I saw you. When will you be back? I have something to discuss with you. Huh. If you have anything to discuss with me, forget it. I'll go say hello to the cleaning team leader now, and we'll be back soon. You wait for me first. By the way, Mom, don't contact the agent yet. Call him when you come back. Oh, okay. I'll talk to you when I come back. Ren's mother on the other end has hung up the phone in a hurry, and Luo Wen has long been accustomed to his mother's decisiveness. Looking at this house, that is both familiar and unfamiliar, the landlord seems to have just renovated it and prepared to keep it for himself to live in, but found that it was too close to the road and it was too noisy, so he moved to another house and rented this place out. Brand new solid wood cabinets, brand new marble floors, clean white walls, so Luo Wen's family is equivalent to moving into a new home. Perhaps it is precisely because Luo Wen's family has no children and they are all adults, so the landlord rented it to them. However, no matter how good it is, the time is different. I had picked up a cheap house before, but now it seems that it is not suitable after all. Not to mention Luo Wen's mother, who plans to take out a loan to buy a house. Luo Wen himself did not like this community very much before. There was no management at all. In addition, with the emergence of the system, Luo Wen wanted to change to a new residence even more. Ren Gixiang is quick-witted and speaks quickly, but she also knows how to behave. She knows what to do and what to say to what kind of people. When she was farming in the countryside, she was thin and her skin was rough and dark, as if a gust of wind could blow her down at any time. However, she could carry rice in the field with Luo Wen's father, holding a sharp pole. The rice was full of water, and the ridges were narrow and difficult to walk, but she was still walking briskly. After carrying dozens of poles, she drank a large teapot of water in one breath. 10 years ago, farming mainly relied on human and animal power, and then semi-mechanized farming gradually emerged. However, Ren Gixiang and Luo Deke were able to build a 3-story house without the help of the elderly, and also sent Luo Wu to college. Luo Wen was well behaved and sensible, since he was a child. Although he was not good at studying, he was honest and law-abiding, and never made his parents worry. In Luo village, and even in Fujia village opposite, no one did not give a thumbs up to Luo Wen's parents, which can also be called very good reputation. Click, click, a middle-aged woman in a white shirt, holding an electric bike helmet in her hand, appeared in front of Luo Wen with a smile on her face. She began to gain weight a little, but she had a pretty face. It was obvious from Luo Wen's appearance that he inherited his mother's appearance. Oh, I said you were suffering outside, probably because you were dark and thin. This is obviously a handsome guy, haha. There was no hug or touch, but after a careful look up and down, the smile on Luo Wen's mother's face became more and more cheerful. Mom, I won the lottery, more than 12 million. He, warm, full of caressing smiles, maybe only in front of his mother, Luo Wen would be so defenseless and true, although he told a little lie. Ah. What did you say? Yes, 12 million. Our family has become rich. Chapter 24 No more loans. You are not making fun of your mother, are you? The family atmosphere in Luo Wen's home is very harmonious, except for his mother, who always says some strange things inadvertently. Luo Wen has grown up, and can be said to seldom go home, except during the holidays. He is withdrawn but very gentle, so he has a strong ability to adapt. This results in him being asked to go out with others during holidays. Whenever he is outside, he works hard, but gets no thanks, and silently serves as a background board. The key is that the whole family is working together, either making money or studying outside. Luo Wen can't even see anyone when he goes back. He only has 4 days off a month, and it takes him half a day to travel back and forth. He would rather go home during a long vacation. Haha, call the agent later and tell them that you don't want a loan. I'll transfer 6 million to you, and you can go directly to the sales office to buy 2 units with full payment. Luo Wu just happened to have a girlfriend. Then I paid a deposit of 10,000. Doesn't that mean I can't get it back? Looking at his mother's expression of throwing away the watermelon to pick up sesame seeds, Luo Wen felt helpless. I've given you 6 million, and you're still thinking about the 10,000 yuan from the agent? Since our family has breached the contract, just consider it as liquidated damages. Ren Gixiang rolled her eyes and almost showed it to her son. He started spending lavishly as soon as he got lucky. What will happen in the future? However, thinking about how Luo Wen rarely came back and was willing to pay half of his bonus as soon as he opened his mouth, and also stated that he would buy a house for his younger brother, she was indeed deeply moved and encouraged in her heart. At least it proved that the 2 brothers, even if they didn't communicate much in normal times, still had a very deep relationship. Whenever there was something good, they would not forget to save a copy for him. Yes, Mom is confused. Okay, I'll call Xiaozhang and tell him that we won't take out a loan and we don't want that second-hand house anymore. Haha. Also, don't tell anyone else. Just say that you breached the contract and don't want the deposit. If others ask why, don't say that I won the lottery. Don't worry, your mom is not a fool. How could she let everyone know about winning the lottery? Haha. While agreeing with her eldest son, Mother Ren thought in her heart that she must tell Luo the good news later, and then call her sister and brother. This is a great thing. Naturally, the family must be notified, and she must also find a time to treat her family to a meal and celebrate properly. Luo Wen looked at his mother's excited expression. When he took out his phone, he didn't know where to press his fingers. He had already guessed what she was thinking in her heart. Alas, his parents have many family members, and he is their son. He can't hide it. Fortunately, he was cunning enough, and only said that he won 12 million. Otherwise, the remaining 51 million would probably be used to do a lot of good things. Luo Wen took out 12 million, and he didn't plan to have any left. He gave 6 million to his mother to buy a house. The average house price in Jiangling district is between 10,000 and 20,000. It is not a first-tier city in Xiaguo, and it is not as exaggerated as the 100,000 red line. Of course, if he buys a single-family villa, Luo Wen's 6 million is estimated to be in jeopardy. At 3 p.m., Luo Wen had been waiting for his mother to call everyone in the family. She still looked like she hadn't finished yet, and her emotions were so high that she had nowhere to vent. "Wenzi, do you think I should book a banquet here and invite everyone to celebrate, or go back to my hometown and ask the chef to prepare a few tables to have a good time in the village?" Haha, her face was flushed, and the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes disappeared. People are refreshed when they are happy. Not to mention, people live a lifetime, especially when there are two sons in the family. The key is that now they are adults and have to start a family. Ren Gixiang, from the day she married Luo Deke, has been thinking about getting rich through hard work, doing more, earning more, so that her children can live better and have a better future in the future. However, her eldest son, who is very sensible, is somewhat indebted. He was inexperienced as a parent for the first time and only cared about making money to support the family. When he was a child, she cared the least, but he was also the one who suffered the most. Compared to the younger son, the family environment improved a little later. He was given the focus of training since he was young, and the whole family followed him wherever he went to school. The eldest son, on the other hand, had to rely on himself for everything since he was in junior high school. He had no care in his studies, and he had to come back to help with farm work and take care of his 3-year-old brother. Fortunately, the house purchase has been settled now, and all difficulties will be over. You calculate whether 6 million is enough. I don't care about the rest. But it's summer now, and the village is too hot. You should find a hotel. By the way, Mom, I want to go home and build a house on the old homestead. After the 2 houses are renovated, one will be for you and Dad, and the other will be for Luo. I will live in the village. In the first few sentences, Ren's mother felt that what her son said made sense. It was indeed not appropriate in the village, and she also understood the principle of not showing off wealth. Her village was small, and the neighbors were all relatives within the 5th degree of mourning. At most, they would just be happy for their family. But the situation in the opposite village was not certain. There were many people, and they had many mouths. If they returned to the village to hold a banquet, they would definitely come to ask for money. They would borrow a little from here and there, and they would end up having nothing. For relatives, the most feared thing was that others would say bad things about them behind their backs, saying that they would turn against each other just because they had money, and that they would look down on others just because they became rich. Yes, it is better to bring my family to the hotel, and also tell them not to spread rumors everywhere. Phew. Fortunately, I was more careful, and only said that Wenzi won 6 million, and did not dare to say 12 million. If you want to go home and build a house, I won't stop you. The house your father and I built is almost 20 years old, and it's time to build a new one. Besides, you are the eldest, and the old homestead was originally reserved for you. When your father comes back, I will ask him to take you to the brigade in the Urban Construction Bureau to get the procedures for building a house. Luo Wen's mother was in a good mood and did not forget to go back to the unit to punch out. At 7 o'clock in the evening, not only was a large table of dishes prepared, but Luo Deke and Luo, who worked in the suburbs and Langkao district, also rushed home one after another. Haha, you've grown taller and whiter. Wenzi, you won the lottery at a really good time. Your mother and I are happy for you. Haha. Dad, sit down and have a rest and use the fan. I just called, and Luo Wu said he will be back soon. Okay. Haha. He is 172 centimeters tall and weighs 70 kilograms. He is wearing a dusty short-sleeved shirt with small holes on the cuffs and collar. It is obvious that he has been washed too many times and has become grey and old. He has not seen his father for half a year and has a few more white hairs on his temples. His tanned skin and a pair of muscular hands with thick calluses are all filled with joy and relief. He gently pats Luo Wen on the shoulder. The honest, hard-working, and honest middle-aged man is Luo Wen's father, Luo Deke. He used to be very strong, but under the hardships of life, his back gradually hunched. However, the resolute light in his eyes did not gradually cool down with the passage of time. Instead, there was more hope and beauty changing. Luo Wen looked at his father, whom he used to regard as a mountain, and his heart was suddenly filled with mixed feelings. However, the idea of wanting his family to live a better life became stronger. Tap, tap, bang. Speak of the devil and he shall appear within 2 minutes. Brother, Mom said you were going to buy me a house. Is that true? She also said you won the lottery. How much did you win? Mom is keeping me in suspense and said she'd tell me when she got back. Look how anxious I am. The young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes, sweating profusely, flew to Luo Wen's side as soon as he came back, without even having time to change his slippers. He was wearing a white shirt and black trousers, a tie and leather shoes, dressed like an urban professional youth. According to the height measured during the Chinese New Year, Luo Wu is 1 centimeter taller than Luo Wen, but looking at it now, it is obvious that Luo Wen is 3 fingers taller than his brother. Luo Wu is 176 centimeters, which means Luo Wen is almost 180 centimeters. I didn't tell you, because I was afraid you would tell everyone about it. You have to thank your brother for thinking of you first, when he got rich. Haha, that's right. If I got rich, wouldn't I think of my brother first, right big brother? It's been a long time since I heard him call me brother, and now he's calling me big brother. Luo Wen is helpless with his funny brother. Huh, forget it. I never see you call me to check on me. By the way, where's your girlfriend? When are you going to bring her back for us to meet? Haha, almost there. Okay, let's eat and talk. The food is getting cold. Chapter 25 Happy Event. Luo Wu took a leave, and Luo's father also took a leave. According to Luo Wen's mother, buying a house is a big event for the whole family. Don't you really plan to go and take a look together, so that there will be an extra pair of eyes and more caution? Luo's mother also took a leave, and with Luo Wen already on vacation at home, they split up into 2 groups and acted separately. Luo Wu took Luo's mother and went straight to Qinghu Mountain Jinxiu Huafu, which is surrounded by mountains and rivers and only 5 minutes away from the subway station. It was built by Jiangnan Group, a well-known real estate developer in Zaya country. Although it is not in the central area, it has a good environment and complete supporting facilities. It is free from the hustle and bustle of the street. This newly opened real estate project is the first choice for settling down. The main units for sale are 88 2-bedroom, 128 3-bedroom, and 158 4-bedroom. A property-owned parking space is also given for free when you buy it now. Of course, the wool always comes from the sheep. Compared with other real estate projects around, its average unit price is 2,000 higher per square meter. That is, the price per square meter is 12,888 / According to Luo Wen's guidance, it is best not to buy an upstairs or downstairs above the 8th floor, nor below the 3rd floor. It is best not to have 2 houses on the same floor, or 3-bedroom apartment of 128 square meters is more suitable. One house is 1.65 million, plus decoration. Luo Wen said that 2 houses should be bought at the price of 5 million, just in time for his parents to leave 1 million for pocket money, which shocked the family. They even guessed that when Luo Wen went home to build a house, he would definitely not build an ordinary 3-story building, but a villa. Homestead, especially when there is a certificate. Luo's father rode a motorcycle with Luo Wen, who looked helpless, basking in the sun and eating the dust on the rural road, and went to the brigade secretary to stamp and sign, and then turned to the Land and Resources Bureau, Urban Construction Bureau, and Police Station of Minquan Town to separate households, apply, measure, and issue building permits. After going through a set of procedures, Luo Wen's mouth was dry, and his smile gradually became numb. His father handed him a cigarette and nodded. He was thought to be honest and dumb, but he showed a different image of an old father in front of Luo Wen. It turns out that his father can also speak to people. Fortunately, when you find someone to do something, you should be quick-witted and nimble. Moreover, the government is also promoting clean government and efficient office work. He accepted the cigarettes, but did not take the red envelope. On the same day, they drove to Luo village together. They worked very busy under the scorching sun on an old foundation covered with weeds. Before leaving, he sighed. There is a bamboo forest and a small hill behind, and the cement road leading to the village in front. The front and backyards are open. This is really a good place. Maybe Luo Wen's luck started to improve after he bound the system, or maybe Luo Wen, who is tall and has a good appearance, made those staff members like him. In addition, they specially booked a business car and provided drinks and 1916 cigarettes at 200 yuan a pack. That's why it was so smooth that all the procedures were completed within one day. The Huchan government stipulates that the approved land area for self-built houses in rural areas is not allowed to exceed 300 square meters. As for the yard, kitchen, toilet, and these ancillary facilities are definitely not counted in the area. However, these additional buildings will definitely not be recognized on the real estate certificate. When the main structure is completed, the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau will come to inspect and take photos, and then you can wait for the house certificate to be produced. Besides, 300 square meters of building land is actually not very small. According to Luo Wen's initial plan, the entire front and backyards had to be dug up, hardened, drained, and built with septic tanks and pipelines. The entire main building should be 4 stories high, with a steel concrete structure and cast in one piece. In Minquan Town, it is not popular to build an enclosed front yard, so just leave a large open space, which can be used as a drying yard, a banquet, or for parking. Luo Wen did not plan to enclose the backyard, but to find someone to renovate the depression, plant fruit trees, open up a path in the bamboo forest, and build an antique pavilion in the hill that looks like a small earth slope. A small vegetable garden can be opened around the fruit trees, and then pass through the lawn and swimming pool to connect to the back door of the villa. Next to the swimming pool, build a tea room and a chess and card room for his parents to play cards. In short, it was Luo Wen's dream since childhood, and today it was finally going to come true. After taking a last look at the weed-covered wasteland in front of them, Luo Wen and his father greeted their uncle next door, then turned around and rode their motorcycles back to the city. Building a house is not a matter of 1 or 2 days. You need to find a design company to realize the house design that meets Luo Wen's requirements, and then according to the budget, improve the construction materials and implement specific different standards. The construction party in the town can only be regarded as a craftsman mason, and Luo Wen's budget is 6 million, so of course he needs a more professional team to complete the overall construction of the country villa quickly and well. Hoo-hoo, squeak, coo. The night is hazy, and the hot air gradually becomes cooler. Luo Wen, who is sitting on the back seat of the motorcycle, regrets that he hasn't bought a car until now. I heard that there are crash courses for taking a driver's license. As long as the money is in place and the driving skills are strong, the driving school can arrange the test at any time. Luo Wen thought that he should inquire about it tomorrow and then find a construction company. Dad, the voice was stretched out, just because the wind was too strong. You and my mom, why don't you quit your job, retire directly, and live in the village for retirement? I say, you and my mom should retire now, go home for retirement, and I will give you living expenses every month. It was the first time that Rod heard what his eldest son said. After running around all day today, his eldest son was even better than himself in terms of social skills. Now there is such filial piety, he really suddenly has a sense of relief that life is worth it. A drop of hot tears slid from the corner of his eyes and blew into the wind. Well, okay, I'll go back and discuss it with your mother. Haha. It's not that Rod is greedy for enjoyment, nor does he think he should retire. He is thinking that now Luo Wen is going to spend millions to build a villa, and those construction workers must be taken care of by someone. Besides, fallen leaves return to their roots, and he really likes to stay at home. He doesn't want to be like a rootless duckweed outside. The two sons have grown up and become adults. What they can do as parents is to leave a way out for them at home. They will get married, have children, and there must be someone to take care of them when they return home, right? Grow some food for yourself, raise some chickens, ducks, and fish, feed some livestock, clean up the vegetable garden, and take care of the house. The air in the village is good, and you can have a leisurely and comfortable life. As long as you don't have to worry about the houses for the two sons. In fact, you can eat a little and sell a little. This is a real life. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.